I never thought I'd find myself here, in this twisted reality. The woman I loved, my beautiful wife, a web of deceit hidden behind those enchanting eyes. I caught her, red-handed, betraying our vows in our own home. The rage, the betrayal, it consumed me. As I watched her lover scramble, fear in his eyes, I felt a dark satisfaction. This isn't just a confrontation. It's my retribution. Tonight, the masks fall and the truth comes crashing down with devastating consequences. My wife was furious. Her current look, a mix of anger and her disheveled clothing, showed it both on the inside and out. She grabbed the old-looking parchment from her friend's hand and read the slave auction rule sheet out loud for everyone. Dallas Halloween, Slave Auction 1. All masters must come with at least one slave, too. Only one master per invite. Companions will be sold 3. All slaves must wear collars at all times 4. Masters get 500 gold for each slave for the night's costs 5. More gold can be earned through games and contests 6. Slaves will be auctioned off in random order 7. No master can bid on a slave they brought 8. Slaves who take off their collars are immediately free 9. Slaves won't be required to remove any clothing. We stood on the front porch with other couples, wondering if we still wanted to join this game. A slave auction for Halloween was already a bit much, but this new twist meant almost every woman there might have to obey someone other than her husband. Or maybe even more people. Plus, the unclear ways for the masters to earn more gold made it hard to know how things might turn out. It also made the silver coins in my pouch useless. I had wasted an hour at the coin store for nothing. "Can you believe this nonsense? Who's going to agree to these rules?" Amanda asked her friend. She wasn't the only one with doubts. One couple had already left, and it was clear that not everyone liked our host's creativity. The rules didn't seem that bad to me. If anything, they weren't strict enough to protect these slaves. But the rule stopping a master from buying back his own slave was a deal-breaker, at least for Amanda. Our hostess and her cousin Michelle, both wearing striking leather outfits, were trying hard to convince my wife to join in. "Come on, Amanda, it's only fair. Otherwise, every husband would have to buy his own wife or look bad. This way, everyone gets to mix things up a bit like they secretly want," Erica argued. She had a point. In her outfit, I wasn't the only one wondering how she'd look all tied up. Amanda wasn't convinced. Like they want? What about us? Who wants to risk some stranger controlling them? That made Terry, our third friend, laugh. "Just about every woman here, it seems. Except you and me." Amanda looked shocked, feeling betrayed by her friend. "You're not agreeing with this, are you?" "Hell no. I know who I want to be owned by, and he brought me here. But I get where they're coming from. If Bill were still around, I'd still want to be controlled by your handsome hubby," Terry said. Sweet girl. She was making me blush. But now that's not going to happen. Do you really want to risk being controlled by someone like Cole? Or worse, Greg? Greg brought 2 slaves, so he's got a lot of gold to bid with, Amanda argued. Michelle kept trying to persuade Amanda. With the way the contests are set up, I don't think Greg stands much of a chance to add to his gold. Besides, if you don't like it, you can just say no and take off your collar. She put her arm around Amanda and walked her away from the crowd. "Don't worry," was the last thing I heard. Even though I was officially the master over my beautiful wife and her nearly just as lovely friend, I didn't want to get involved. Our shaky marriage was just starting to heal, and I didn't want to stir up trouble. Our new, open relationship with Terry was also fragile. Honestly, I would have been happy to take my slaves home and be with them alone. I looked them over. Terry wore a sheer white silk and silver loincloth that came halfway down her thighs, her bikini top barely covering her small chest. Amanda wore a rough brown tunic, open at the sides, held by a simple rope around her waist. The strategic tiers showed glimpses of skin and the straps of her thong. The partial view of her ample chest was more alluring than fully showing it. She was incredibly attractive. Terry came over, rubbing against me like a cat. "Pet your slave, master?" I laughed and pulled her close, running my hand through her long, dark hair, now with a striking white streak like Anna Paquin's rogue character. It looked great on her. I couldn't help but notice the hesitation among the other couples. Looks like Amanda's not the only one with doubts here, I said. Oh, the others are just waiting to see what we do. If we go in, most of them will follow. If we don't, half the party leaves. Erica knows it, Terry said confidently. That's why she's trying so hard. Why do you think that? She laughed. Everyone knows Amanda's the most uptight one here. If she's okay with it, it must be fine. The men are also interested because if we don't join, the two hottest slaves won't be part of the fun, she teased, doing a little dance for me. That caught the eye of many bystanders. Maybe she had a point. Saucy girl. I looked around the porch, seeing all the couples still bundled up in wraps or coats, hiding their costumes. I was definitely curious. There were several women at the party that I thought were very attractive. I believed most men there would do anything to have my beautiful wife, not to mention the lovely lady next to me. Hello, Jack. I turned and saw Troy Brown waving at me. We weren't the only ones dressed as people from the world of gore. Troy looked more like Robin Hood with his outfit, but his curvy wife wore a red silk tunic that was open at the sides and went halfway to her knees. Her outfit covered more than Amanda's revealing costume, with only small gaps at the sides, held by a wide belt around her waist. She had more to cover, but her curves looked good. Hello, Troy, I said with a smile. I looked at Kayla. Red really suits you, I teased. Who chose that for you? She did, Troy laughed, and she certainly looks good in it. We all laughed, and Kayla blushed. In the world of gore, red silk meant a woman was trained to please her master. Troy and Kayla were a unique couple. She was taller than him and probably weighed a bit more, too. Not that she was heavy, he was just smaller, maybe about 5'6" and 140 pounds. He was in good shape. Her soft curves looked nice next to his lean build. Troy leaned in closer and spoke quietly. This rule about not buying back your own slaves, it's a problem. Yes, I agreed. It's not good for us. He nodded. I was thinking the men who are playing people from Gore should team up. We could pool our money and buy each other's slaves, then share them. Kayla is worried about being sold to the wrong guy. His idea interested me. There was more to his offer than it seemed. He could have said we should just exchange them, not share. He had an interest in Amanda, but we knew them and they were decent people. We had socialized, though not often. His wife was friendly and easy to get along with. He was likable, and they had a good marriage, or so it seemed. More importantly, the idea could work. It would solve a lot of problems. Sharing could also be managed carefully. The chance to share his beautiful wife was a tempting bonus. As if to convince me more, Kayla got down on her knees beside me. Buy me, master, please, buy Kayla. I grinned. She had the look and attitude. Terry pulled on my arm. I can't think of two men I'd rather belong to, she said with a smile. I'm sure Amanda would agree. We like Troy. I stuck my hand out and Troy shook it. It's a plan, as long as Amanda agrees. Terry giggled. Don't worry about her. She's just acting. There's no way she won't go in after everything we've done to prepare. She just needs a bit of reassurance. Terry was right. Amanda walked over and Kayla got up to make room. My wife clung to my arm. You'll watch out for me, right, Jack? I'm a bit nervous. I put my arm around her. Troy and I will both watch out for you. We're going to team up to buy all of you back and keep you safe from these other guys. That seemed to cheer her up. She looked at Troy, who was waiting patiently. Really? You'd do that for me, Troy? She gave him a hopeful look. He smiled warmly. Of course, Amanda. I'll help in any way I can. You know that. She sighed deeply, giving in. All right, let's do this. Before she could turn away, I held her arm. Once we're inside and I put the collar on you, you'll be my slave until the auction. Agreed. She looked sweetly at me. Amanda will be a good slave for her master. Amanda will not disappoint. That made me feel good. Our decision got things moving. We went into the house with a few other couples behind us. Inside the door, I stopped the girls. I took out a leather collar from one of my pouches. It was simple, with a single metal loop on the front. This is for you, Amanda. She lifted her hair, letting me put the collar around her neck. It looks good on you, I told her, giving her a kiss. She blushed. We weren't usually affectionate in public. In fact, until recently, we weren't affectionate even in private. Pretty slave girl, I think I'll call you Mandy. I tugged gently on the collar. Thank you, master. she said softly. I turned to Terry and pulled out another collar. This one was silver mesh, almost an inch wide, with a large loop on the front. "And this one is for you, beautiful slave. Do you like it?" She stood tall, holding her hair back. "It's lovely. Thank you, master." "Not as lovely as you," I said, closing the clasp. Dale, another guest, handed me 2 small bags of coins. 850 gold coins, 420 ES, and some smaller ones in each. "May I say you have great taste in slaves? They look delightful." I wasn't sure how to respond. "Thank you. I hope your new owner tonight treats you well." We walked through the house, looking at the changes. It was getting crowded. In the main room, I saw a platform had been set up in front of the fireplace. A single wooden post stood up from the floor, reaching about 8 feet high. 2 big steel rings were attached to it. Soft fabrics and cushions were scattered all around. Most of the furniture had been moved away, making the space wide open. As I walked through the dining room and living room, I noticed the same thing. I wondered where all the furniture had gone. There were many flagpoles around, but instead of flags, long, silky sheets hung from each one. I thought about what they might be for. The lighting was dim. Most of the main lights were off, and candles were placed throughout the house, giving off a soft, flickering light and strong scents. The corners of the rooms were especially dark, maybe to create a feeling of privacy. The centers of the rooms were mostly empty, leaving space for people to move around and talk. The house was warm, which was good since many of us were lightly dressed. As we explored, I saw a few new girls wearing tight leather mini-dresses. The dresses had big zippers in the front, almost asking to be opened. Extra zippers were on the top parts above the chest. More eye-catching details. They also wore leather collars. The girls looked young, probably college students looking to make some easy money. They were all pretty, though not as stunning as some of the guests. A couple of male helpers were there, too. They wore tight leather shorts, see-through shirts, and collars. Their outfits showed a lot. Luckily, they were fit enough to look good in them, probably more college students. I wondered for a moment what they were being paid for the night. The last time we hosted the Halloween party, we had hired 3 pirate-themed bartenders and servers, and it had cost me over $150 each. This setup looked expensive, too. The servant girls were walking around with drinks and snacks, while the servant men mostly stood on the side, watching. I was thirsty. "Mandy, get me a drink," I told her clearly. "Terry, 2 cups of wine." The girls hurried away, giving me a chance to see how things were going. Nearby, I saw a really ugly orc I wouldn't have recognized except for his lovely companions. His mask must have been uncomfortable. "Nice outfit, Raoul. A bit heavy on the makeup, though." As a man, it was my duty to tease him a bit. "Beautiful companions you have there, Master Orc," I said to my longtime friend. He had been one of our original guests from years ago. He snorted. "These? Just some trouble I picked up on the way here?" Through his mask, I could hear the smile in his voice. The trouble was his tiny wife Denise, dressed as a night elf from World of Warcraft. The long pointy ears were a clear sign. She wore a mesh bikini and a dark red cloak, which suited her well. Beside her was a very tall blue girl with big curly horns and hoof-shaped shoes. I didn't recognize her right away. Then it hit me. I grinned. "Sheila?" "Hello, Master," she said with a lovely smile. "Maybe you could free us from this nasty, rude captor? I would appreciate it very much." I hadn't seen Sheila in years. She had gone to college some time ago. I guess she had graduated. She looked amazing with a young, fit body and bright yellow hair. She wore a stunning gold and yellow top piece and had another gold piece around her waist, with a long yellow cloth hanging from it, making her just barely decent. She was a real head-turner. "I'll see what I can do once the auction starts," I told her with a smile. My helper Mandy came back, kneeling and offering me a goblet of what I guessed was beer. I took it and drank deeply. It was a dark beer, not Guinness, but almost as thick. Just what I needed. Terry arrived moments later, also on her knees, holding up 2 more cups. "You 2 can have 1 glass each," I told her. "Thank you, Master," she said sweetly, lowering the glasses and handing one to her fellow helper. Torque would trade. Both of these helpers for either of yours," Torque said, pulling on the leashes attached to his 2 women. "Tempting, Torque." "It was tempting. If I made the trade before the auction, could I get the money, 50 gold each? I'd be more likely to be able to buy my own helpers back. I'd have to discuss this with Troy. Maybe later. Can I offer you something to drink? Not now. Torque will try to find someone silly enough to take these troublesome girls off my hands. He walked off, with the girls putting on a good act of being dragged along against their will. Sheila had to walk carefully, her tall shoes adding about 6 inches to her height. I noticed she had a large purple tail sticking out from her outfit. I wondered how she would look on her hands and knees with me moving the tail. Shame on me. Too bad I'd be buying back my own helpers. Otherwise, I would have enjoyed having those girls around. Either one, or better yet, both. Not a real mother-daughter fantasy, since Denise was Raoul's second wife and only a few years older than her stepdaughter. I mingled for a while, my helpers always close by, running small errands for me and giving me lots of attention. They were very openly affectionate, which made a few people raise their eyebrows. The fact that Terry was being so close, and Amanda not only accepted but copied her friend's behavior, must have surprised most of our friends. It surprised me, too. It was unthinkable until a few days ago. The atmosphere was exciting. I'd never felt anything like it. Men and women were mingling at the party, and some of the women wore very little clothing. The men held them casually, touching them in a way that flirted and teased. The revealing outfits, showing skin and glimpses of bodies, were stunning and provocative. Even the ones dressed more conservatively showed a new boldness and openness that was surprising. I knew many of these women for years. Amanda was usually quite reserved and had only a few close friends. I, however, was friendly with everyone but didn't have many close friends. I liked to joke and flirt, but in a harmless way, and never went too far. Over the years, I became closer to a few women like Erica, our hostess, Tasha, and Denise. This made Terry and Kayla's unexpected actions all the more surprising. I'd never been forward with either of them before. Tonight, it felt like I could end up with any one of these women if I wanted. I sent Terry to find out more about the contests. Winning more gold would be good. The contests were mainly about skills or knowledge, which made sense since strength contests wouldn't be fair for the women in charge. Surprisingly, some of the silly games I played in college and my knack for random facts were useful. I don't know if I did the best, but I did better than most. By the end, I earned an extra 840 gold on top of the 1,000 I had. I was sure I had more gold than anyone else. Only 4 of us brought in 2 slaves, and Raoul and Greg were not doing well. Michelle seemed to be my only real competition. Michelle, Erica's cousin, owned Erica and her husband Dale. She made sure everyone knew it. She kept them in line and even had Dale licking her boot. It was an image I wouldn't forget soon. During the games, we saw most of the house and yard. It was warm outside for this late in the year, probably in the low 70s. It had been in the 80s earlier, and I guessed it would cool down by night. The backyard had small tents set up for privacy, renting for 50 gold per hour. They seemed like a good idea. I met Michelle while exploring and spoke with her about the auction. She seemed to be having a great time. She joked about owning me and how hard it would be to break me. For you, maybe we could arrange a private deal. Being your toy for a night sounds fun, I said, running my hand down her leather outfit. I think you'll be busy tonight. I wouldn't want you too tired, she replied, touching my leg with her riding crop and lifting my leather wrap. Careful, there's nothing under this, I warned her. I like that. We might have to play after all. Erica would want to join too. Name the date and I'll be there, I said. No need for bells. What you're wearing is perfect. She moved closer, almost touching my face. Are you teasing or do you really want to play? Could Amanda join too? I asked, getting excited by the idea. Would she be willing? Michelle asked, wide-eyed. Maybe. We're trying new things in our relationship, I said. That explains Terry? She smiled. See if you can make it happen. I'll try. Wild party you've set up here? I replied. We haven't seen the half of it yet. She laughed. As I started to leave, she pulled me close with her crop and told me to open my mouth and close my eyes. I did, feeling something placed inside my mouth. A little gift, she said, to make sure you're ready if things get wild. She kissed me softly. Have fun tonight, handsome. I returned to my friends and we wandered until the auction started. Excitement was building. We settled in a dim corner with some pillows, watching others. Troy joined with Kayla, who looked stunning in her silks. Sitting on the ground, I enjoyed the view from below. "Did well in the contests," Troy said, sending Kayla off for drinks. "I'm up over 400 gold. That made me feel confident. Good. We have over 2,700 in total. Let me give you an extra 1,000 to buy these two women. I kept 840 to bid on Kayla. If I need more, we'll figure it out." 1920, Troy counted his coins. "I hope it's enough. Any strategy?" "Not really. It all depends on when they come up for auction. I think Wendy, Penny, and Sheila will sell for a lot of money, but you never know for sure." He nodded. Terry was trying to get my attention. "Do you want to say something, Kajira?" She leaned against my leg, her hand on my thigh. "Mandy will cost a lot, Master. Don't worry about buying me. Save your money for Mandy. If I come up first, let someone else buy me. You can trade for me later." "Mandy?" I asked softly. "Speak. If Terry is up first, buy Terry. If you don't and someone else buys Mandy, you won't have either of us. Buy Terry, Master," she said firmly, which was unusual for her. Terry was being naughty, her hand under my robe, touching me softly. I reacted strongly. Kayla came back with our drinks. I pushed Terry away. "Behave, slave!" She laughed and crawled over to Troy. She pressed her body against his, making him smile. "I hope you can buy all of us, Master. We'll be good. I might wear white, but I'll make you happy." Kayla seemed happy. She gave Troy his drink, then ran her fingers through Terry's hair. "Isn't she beautiful, Master?" Troy's smile grew wider. "Too beautiful. We have the 3 most beautiful women here. Many will try to buy them from us." Kayla walked over to me and took Terry's place. Her robe opened a bit, showing some skin. "You're strong, Masters. I'm sure we'll serve you well soon." She looked up at me, her eyes bright. "How can I serve you, Master?" Her hands were on my thigh, moving under my robe, teasing me. "This girl lives to serve." I glanced at Troy, who was lost in his own world. He was lying back with Terry all over him. Her leg was over his, and her hands were inside his vest. Her lips were on his neck, while his hand touched her bare back. That girl was trouble. Mandy sat quietly beside me, watching her friend. I nudged her. "Kajira, that Master controls your fate. Maybe help your sister convince him you're worth buying." She gave me a mysterious look, smiling a little. "As you wish, Master," she said softly, crawling over the pillows. The view from behind was amazing. I was a lucky man. The recent changes made me feel young again, desiring my wife. When Amanda left, Kayla's hand moved up, stroking my inner thigh. She didn't stop until she touched me. "How can I please you, Master?" "I'll serve you any way you wish." She licked her lips slowly. I felt her hand move, her fingers tracing my hardness. "What would you like Kayla to do?" This was beyond my expectations. I thought our slaves would be friendly, even allow a bit of touch, but Kayla was making me rethink everything. I wondered if Troy knew what his wife's intentions were. "For now, that's nice. After the auction, I may rent a tent and see if you deserve red silk." She crawled up my body, her hand obvious under my robe. She kissed my chest. She looked up and whispered, "This girl would like that, very much." She moved higher, pressing her lips to my ear. "Kayla wants to serve you completely. If she's a slave, she'll be the best." Then her lips were on mine, kissing me. I kissed her back, a master's kiss, my hand inside her robe, squeezing her breast. Her hand was clutching me, squeezing. This was not what I expected from Kayla. She was usually so reserved. Normally, she hardly even flirted. But now, the red silks, the touching, the kissing, incredible. I heard bells and looked up. One of the servants hired for the party was walking by, ringing a bell. "Auction in 10 minutes. All slaves, please go to the auctioneer." I saw the others sitting up, fixing their clothes. Mandy had to be careful. Any wrong move, and she'd show too much. Kayla let go of me and sat up too. "Buy Kayla, Master," she said strongly. "Kayla needs to be owned by Master Jack." I laughed and patted her rear. "Go get ready to be bought, Kajira. My girls stopped by for a kiss, which I gave happily. Remember," Terry whispered, "buy Mandy no matter what." Troy stood and fixed his clothes. He was clearly excited. I was too, but at least my outfit hid it better. "Wow! You're going home with both of them?" He laughed. "Seems like it," I smiled. "Yes. and Terry won't be wearing white again." He shook his head. "You're lucky. I don't know if I'd survive a night with both, but what a way to go." The main room was filling quickly. We found a spot a bit back from the stage, my back to the corner. I started to feel anxious. Small groups were forming. I hoped they didn't have the same plans as us. We didn't have to wait long. Michelle took the stage, dressed in her dominatrix outfit. Black leather bustier, leather panties, fishnet stockings, knee-high boots with heels, and black gloves. She had a riding crop and was leading a woman dressed as Princess Leia to the stage. The room was dark, but the stage was brightly lit. The people about to be auctioned stood in the spotlight. Michelle clipped a leash to Leia's collar, then turned to us. "Before we start, let's go over some rules. The safety and comfort of the people here is the most important thing. Remember, no one can be forced to take off any clothing. Also, anyone can choose to stop and free themselves by taking off their collar, and no one can stop them. Lastly, all the participants have a safe word, which is lavender. I'm repeating lavender. If someone says it, stop what you're doing and check on them. If you don't follow the rules, you'll lose any rights to your participant and face serious consequences. No one is allowed to gag anyone. They must be able to speak the safe word. Understood?" There were half-hearted nods and agreements. "To be clear, everyone who agrees to these rules, raise your hand." Everyone raised their hands quickly, and the auction began. Michelle stepped back and encouraged Leia to move with a gentle tap of a riding crop. Leia looked great in her outfit. Her slender figure fit the costume well, and her hair buns were perfect. Her partner's costume as Jabba the Hutt was funny, but seemed uncomfortable. The bidding for Leia started at 100 and many people joined in. The excitement was palpable. The bids climbed, first by 20s, then by 50s. It became a battle between Victor and Jerry. Jerry finally won at 650, which seemed like a fair price. Being the first auction of the night, it set the tone. We expected prices around 600 since each starting amount was 500 gold with possible extra from contests. Next, Tasha Evans dressed as a vampire's blood slave came up. Her revealing red dress showed off her body with fake bite marks on her neck, wrists, and chest. She was the only black woman there, adding to her unique appeal, and she was very beautiful. Her outfit was quite striking. She sold for 700 gold to Cole, known to be quite harsh. She didn't look pleased. I thought for a moment, if I wasn't saving to buy back my wife and our friend, I could have tried to buy Tasha or maybe another striking girl, if only. There were 16 women being auctioned off to 11 men. With high bids, not everyone would get what they wanted. Savannah came up next, dressed in a crazy comedy outfit with fake breasts, a big fake butt, and a strange headpiece. She was supposed to be a failed science experiment. Her outfit covered her more than the others. She sold for 480 gold, showing that less revealing outfits didn't sell as well. Then Kayla came up, looking very nice. I waited until the bidding slowed around 500 before jumping in. At 660, it was between me and Greg, someone my wife disliked. I couldn't let him win. My wife would be upset. Greg, known to be a bit rude when drunk, thankfully gave up at 720. It was a small victory. I worried about affording the others, but we managed for now. Kayla seemed worth it even if she sold for more than Tasha. I went to the stage, paid 720 gold, and leashed Kayla. She followed quietly to my corner. I gave her 120 gold to take to her husband. She came back, thanking me for buying her. "Thank you, master, for buying Kayla," she said, lying beside me. "A bargain at twice the price," I replied, patting her shoulder. She kissed my side and spoke softly. "Kayla will work hard to please you," she said, her hand touching my leg. She continued, dropping out of character. "I was so worried Greg would win. I can't stand him. He makes my skin crawl." Greg seemed unpopular with the ladies. Next up was Dave Moore, the first man in the auction. He was big and athletic, and some wives probably wouldn't mind having him. I wasn't interested in bidding on him, so I watched my new red silk girl instead. I wondered how much was just for show and how much she meant it. I slipped my hand inside her silks and held her breast gently. She purred happily. "Do I make your skin crawl, Kajira?" I teased, giving her breast a light squeeze. She kissed my chest again, her tongue lingering. "Your touch sets my skin on fire, master." I pinched her nipple lightly. "No safe word?" I joked. She let go of me, moving up closer. Silly master, there's nothing you could do to your willing slave that would make her even think of that word. She finished by pressing her lips to mine. The kiss was sweet, and while we kissed, I saw the auction for Dave end. Even in our dark corner, I noticed some curious eyes. Some people did not care about buying a male slave. I pushed her away gently. Remember your place, slave. Now attend to me while I watch the actions. She moved down with her back to our potential onlookers, covering up what she was doing. She quickly slipped her hand between my legs and stroked me slowly. Yes, master. Kayla knows her place. Someone would have to be directly over us to see what she was doing. Good girl. I was surprised to see that one of the servant men was paying for Dave. Then he pulled Dave to the side and stayed with him. I put 2 and 2 together and figured that Michelle had bought Dave for herself, using a servant. She had to have over 1,500 gold, since she had started with 2 slaves and did well in the contests. She also had access to more money. Who knew her limit? Wendy, our busty, barely dressed cave girl, was brought on stage next, and I sat up. This would be interesting. I expected her to sell for a high price. She was struggling against her chains, putting on a good show, crouching low and looking out at the crowd. With all her movement and scared poses, we got several glimpses of her bare breasts and excited nipples when her tiny top shifted. She had an amazing body, and in no time her price shot up. At 800 gold, people were still bidding. Things were heating up. Raoul dropped out at 900 gold, leaving Greg and Michelle's servant still bidding. Michelle finally won at 1020 gold. Exactly what I expected. I had hoped Greg would win, as that would take him out of any bidding war for my girls. Wendy seemed to get along with him as well as anyone. I was a little surprised that Michelle had bid so much for her. She'd spent around 1,500 gold for her 2 slaves already. Kayla was watching the auction closely while her naughty hand kept me on edge. Lucky slave, I'd much rather belong to Michelle than Greg. You'd rather belong to a woman? I teased. Compared to Greg? No question. Plus, she owns a handsome male slave. The possibilities are interesting. She leaned down and kissed my side. Of course, Kayla is much happier to belong to her true master. She would choose nobody else. I caught my breath when I saw my wife brought on stage by Michelle. She looked stunning. The room got quiet, and before the bidding officially opened, I heard Greg shout, 1,000! Darn it, exactly what I was afraid of. Amanda stood tall, almost proud. Michelle leaned in and swatted her thigh with her riding crop. Display yourself, slave. Amanda looked shocked but straightened up, opening her legs a bit more than shoulder width, placing her hands behind her head and turning her face to the side. Even from my seat, you could see she was blushing. This slave comes from another world and still needs training. A wild slave girl. Who offers 1050? Michelle asked. 1,100, Raoul yelled. 1,150, Greg shouted. 1,200, Raoul replied. I thought Raoul was our main competition and worried we wouldn't have enough money for Terry if it went much higher. Both of these men had brought 2 slaves and earned money in the contests. 13, Raoul answered. I saw Greg sit down, disappointed, and drink whatever was in his glass. I was glad to see him drop out. Michelle walked around Amanda, running her riding crop along Amanda's thighs, lifting her simple dress to show the edge of her tiny brown thong. This slave is untrained, waiting for a true master to tame her. Are there no real men here tonight? Michelle teased. There were many beautiful women in the room, but Amanda stood out. TV star good looks, the face of an angel, a body like a model's, and she was for sale. I knew these men would secretly imagine being with Amanda when they were with their wives later. 1,400, Troy announced. 15, 16, Raoul and my partner went back and forth. I was surprised Raoul had that much money. I didn't think he did so well in the contests. Troy looked at me puzzled. I nodded strongly. 1,700, Troy replied, standing. The room was quiet for a few seconds before Raoul answered again. 18. Everyone was watching closely. Michelle was still in control. We have 1,800 from the Orc Lord. Surely this lovely girl is worth that and more. She ran her crop along Amanda's thighs, making her tremble. Kneel, she said sharply. Amanda quickly dropped to her knees, hands turned up on her thighs, head tilted back, showing her collar. Her legs were open, displaying her tight panties, hinting at what was underneath. I could see people in the front leaning forward trying to get a better look. She had her eyes closed and was shaking. 1,900, Troy said. 1,900, Michelle laughed, touching my wife's hair. A bargain for such a valuable slave. Imagine owning the legendary Amanda, even if only for a night. She knelt down behind my wife, and I saw her hand slip into my wife's tunic, touching her stomach. Raoul was leaning over, talking to John Peters. I realized we weren't the only ones working together. 1,950, Raoul said. Troy gave one last bid. 1,980. 2,000, Raoul replied. The crowd gasped. The bid was almost double what Wendy had sold for, and I thought she would have been the most expensive. It was a disaster. We were out of the bidding. Troy shook his head and sat down. I have 2,000 gold from the Orc Lord. Any more bids? Anyone? She looked around, waiting. Sold for 2,000 gold. Lucky beast, come claim your prize. I was heartbroken to see Raoul celebrate with John Peters before jumping onto the stage to take my wife away. She looked at me nervously as she was led off stage. What did they say about the best-laid plans? The next 3 auctions went by in a blur. How was I going to get Amanda back? Raoul was decent, and I didn't think John Peters was a problem, but still. Everyone else seemed happy and lively. The other men didn't seem too concerned about selling their wives. Maybe I was the only one worried. I missed the sale of Mindy, a Chinese concubine, and our host Dale. I couldn't focus. By the time I paid attention again, Penny was being auctioned. She was wearing just blue body paint and a thong, like an Avatar character. She was tall, almost 6 feet, with long hair covering her chest. I expected her to sell well, but feared too much had been spent already. Her husband hadn't bought anyone yet and couldn't bid on her. Only Greg, Troy, and Victor hadn't purchased slaves. Greg didn't bid much on her, dropping out early. Victor bought her for a bargain at 650, the same price as Princess Leia. Gold was running low. I would have paid 1,000 for her. Kayla stopped her duties to comfort me. We'll still get Terry, and we'll find a way to trade for Amanda after the auction, she reassured me, adding, Master. I knew that only Greg had enough gold left to bid against us for Terry, unless Elliot, Penny's husband, teamed up with someone. Even then, we should outbid anyone. Small comfort. Michelle called for a break. We've reached the halfway mark. We'll take a short break and start again in 10 minutes. Troy came over. Damn, that was crazy. Nobody's going to have any gold left at the end of the auction if this keeps up. Troy was good with numbers. He pulled out his phone. I figure nobody has more than 400 left, except Greg and Elliot. Kim, too, but I think she'll spend hers on Darius. I'm going to check on something. I'll be back soon. Kayla, stay with Troy. Yes, Master, she replied as I walked away. I found Michelle. I had an idea. Hey, Michelle, can I ask something? Sure. What a deal with Amanda, huh? 2,000? I didn't think anyone would go much higher than 1,000 or maybe 1,200. The rules mention other ways to earn gold. Are there? She laughed. I wondered who'd noticed that. There are a few. We'll have some contests later. She grinned like she was hiding something. And? I asked. Servants can be sponsored. This party got way more expensive than we planned, so if anyone sponsors a servant, they could earn some gold. How does that work? I asked. For $100, you own a servant, not like a slave, but as a worker. As their master, you get special treatment. You get 100 gold and can exchange gold tips they make for dollars. $1 per gold. They haven't earned much yet, but tips might go up after the auction. It could be very profitable or very expensive. I'll take them, I told her. Which ones? She asked. All of them. I took out my pouch and counted a dozen silver coins. These are worth about $50 each. I can exchange them for cash after the party. She was surprised. What are you up to, Jack? I'm going to find a way to get my wife back. Raoul won't be a bad master. Are you sure she wants help? I'm not sure, but if she does, I want to be ready. She counted out 600 more gold for me. That should help with what you already have. There should be some bargains at the end. People are spending too much early on. That's what I'm counting on. Maybe a 2-for-1 deal or something. Good luck. She seemed to think about something else. You know Erica is still for sale. If Greg tries to buy her, I could make it worth your while to outbid him. I have some gold in reserve and would add up to 300 if you do. Any more than that, and I'd be cheating. Why did we invite him anyway? None of the women here want anything to do with him. At least I know Amanda, Terry, and Kayla don't, and now Erica. We all love Alice. We put up with him for her. She looked at her watch. I have to go. The auction's about to start. Terry's going up first after the break. Thanks, Michelle. You're welcome. And don't forget about Erica. She and I would really appreciate it if you kept her away from Greg. We'd be very thankful. Maybe I'll even let you decide things next time. She's up after Terry. Got it. I'll do my best. I went back to Troy. Terry's next. Spend what you need to, and then I'll use whatever money we have left to see if we can get more people, if you're okay with that. I kept my extra $600. Got it. It's mostly your money anyway. I found 2 of the women serving us and told them they had new owners. They had almost 30 gold coins between them, which I said I'd exchange. I gave each of them a silver dollar. It's worth about $50, almost $30 just in silver, I said, taking their gold coins. I can cash it later or you can keep it. They seemed fine with that. After the auction, we can talk more. Michelle was starting the bidding, so I had to leave them. Terry was led on stage, looking amazing in her skimpy outfit. I thought we might get lucky. With Sheila and Erica still to go and a lot of gold already spent, the bidding might be low for Terry. I was right. Greg didn't even try once Troy started bidding, and Elliot stopped at $700. I guessed he was saving his money for Erica or Sheila, maybe Alice or even Denise. Troy went on stage to get Terry. She came to me with nearly 1,500 gold in her hand. She leaned over Kayla to give it to me. My girl in red silk was back to taking care of things. I can't believe you didn't buy Amanda, she said, upset. I know. We only had 1980 and we got outbid. But I am working on a plan. I gave her a kiss. I'm glad we got you back. Now go to Troy. I've got some buying to do. She looked curious but didn't say anything else. Terry saw what Kayla was doing and a sly smile crossed her face. Someone's being naughty, she teased. Kayla giggled. I was helping, Master. Want to join me, Kajira? Terry sighed. I wish. Our other master needs attention, too. She turned and went back to Troy. Erica was already up to 600 with both Greg and Elliot bidding on her. Elliot stopped at 700, and I outbid Greg at 850. I paid 550 myself. I still had over 1,400 left, but Greg was glaring at me. Oh well. I went up on stage and got Erica. She looked stunning in a black leather corset and black mesh. The corset left her chest exposed, and you could see her nipples through the top. After Penny's outfit, it was probably the sexiest. Only Wendy's cave girl look was close. I brought her back to my corner while Darius, the last male slave, went up for auction. It still seemed strange that 2 of the best-looking men at the party chose to be slaves. Thank God you bought me, Jack. I don't know what I would have done otherwise. Why do we even invite Greg? She asked and sat down beside me, opposite Kayla. Kayla was still busy with her hand under my wrap, which Erica noticed with a grin. Alice, I reminded her. She rolled her eyes. Almost doesn't seem worth it. I owe you one. She leaned in and kissed me softly. How can I ever repay you, Master? I'll think of something, Kajira. She chuckled. I bet. The bidding on Darius stopped at 300. Kim didn't have any competition since Michelle was out of money and Lisa couldn't bid. He was intimidating. Think Dwight Howard as Kunta Kinte, stripped to the waist, wearing rough pants and a rope belt. 400, I said loudly, surprising everyone. Kim glared at me. 450, she said. Erica pressed against me, her hands on my chest, asked, What are you doing? Draining the cash pool. I know she has more than 500, and he's the last male here, I explained. 480, I announced. 500, Kim immediately responded angrily. I let her have him. I wasn't interested in a big, strong field slave, especially not one who looked like he could break me in half. I expected Kim would enjoy owning him. Sheila, our young drain-eye, was brought out. Greg stood up, glanced at me, and bid 500. Even before she was leashed, Elliot countered 600. They were bidding in hundreds, so this might go high. Michelle was already asking for the next bid. 650, Greg growled. 700, I called out. You want her? Erica asked. No, but I don't want Greg to get her too cheap. 750, Elliot countered, and Greg raised it to 800. The way I saw it, Greg only bid on girls he really wanted. With Penny, Erica, and Amanda gone, Sheila was probably the most desirable left. $850, I called out, looking at Greg and smiling. He looked furious. 1,000! Sheila looked at me hopefully, as did Michelle, and I felt bad when I let her go. He was going to buy someone tonight. Let it be Raoul's daughter since he had my wife. Served him right, the poor girl. She didn't know these people or understand who she was sold to. Let's hope he stayed sober. Only Elliot kept his money safe. Every other master had at least one servant, except for Raoul and John, who shared my wife. I took a deep breath. I felt another hand underneath my cloak. I looked down and saw Erica was now joining in. You're both being naughty, I whispered, as Michelle escorted the next servant onto the stage. Anyone looking our way would see Erica's hand. Should we stop? Erica asked slyly. Just be gentle, all right? Let's not cause a scene, I said, placing my hand on her chest through the silky fabric. Michelle's servant appeared, making the girls pull back for a moment. I was told to give you this, he said, putting 6 large gold coins in my hands. Thank you, I said, adding them to my stash. Erica's payment. After using up Greg's money, everything fit into my new plan. One by one, I bought the remaining servants, missing only 2. Jean Harris, dressed as a street girl addicted to drugs, went to Elliot for 640 gold. She was very thin and made for a convincing character. I bought Greg's 2 servants, his wife Alice and her sister Marie, for under 400 each. They were cute, but their outfits, making them look like kidnap victims, were more scary than attractive. Their sale was the cheapest of the night, but they didn't look happy about it. The remaining bidders seemed to wait for Denise, the attractive night elf. When I fetched the first sister, Erica and Kayla stopped their touchy actions, which I didn't like. I then let Rex outbid me for Jewel Peters, who was dressed like a Roman servant. I was saving money for Denise, the last item of the night. All who had money left bid on her. At 500 gold, no one else could compete. She was mine. Earlier, she might have sold for 800 or more. She was stunning in her mesh bikini as a night elf, and her ears were alluring. I guess some other masters felt bitter toward me. Only Rex and Michelle had 2 servants. Troy and I had 6 between us. I still had almost 100 gold left. Oh well, next time they should bring more servants of their own. Michelle was on stage, ending the auction. It's time for our masters to bond with their new servants. Remember the house rules and the safe word lavender. Be good. That's someone's wife you have and someone else has yours. Think karma. We'll have several contests later. Announcements will be hourly. The party started at 8 p.m. and it was already past 11 o'clock. These events usually lasted until after 2 o'clock, with many staying until 4 a.m. or later. I wondered how many contests there would be. I stood and called Troy over. Let's find a quiet place to sort things out, I said. We headed to the study where we had set up earlier and found it empty. I blew out 2 candles, leaving just 1 for light. I called for our new servants to gather. You're now servants of Gore. I hope you have some idea of what that means. We won't hurt or mistreat you, but you must obey. Kayla and Terry will train you. Troy will work with you too. Call him master and only master. Do you understand? The girls nodded. I looked at each one for a response. Terry and Kayla each said, Yes, master. Erica used a more formal title. Yes, master, Kajira Erica understands. I smiled. Someone had done her homework. The other 3 responded similarly. I left Erica and Denise with Terry, Kayla, and Troy pulling Alice and Marie aside. You're lucky you went up late in the auction. I couldn't have afforded you earlier. They seemed more cheerful at that. You think so? Alice asked. I frowned. What's the proper way to address me? I said sharply. Master. Sorry, master. Do you think so, master? Sure. You might have gone for 700 or 800 each, maybe even 1,000 with better outfits. Marie looked curious. What do you mean, master? They're decent, but they hide your beauty with blood and dirt. They could be more revealing and attractive, I said. Alice whispered to her sister, I told you so. Everyone was broke when we went up for sale, Marie replied. Ladies, I want to make you more appealing, but only within the house rules. Would you let Terry help adjust your outfits? I want my servants to be the most desirable here. How do you want them changed, master? Alice asked nervously. I'll let Terry figure that out, if you agree. The sisters exchanged looks, then turned back to me. Whatever master desires, Alice said for both. Great, wait here. I went to Terry and explained what I wanted, giving her my ideas. Yes, master, Terry understands. She'll make the new girls look wonderful. I pulled her close and kissed her. Thank you, sweet Terry. I know you will. Master, may I ask a question? Speak. Will you tell me your plans for getting Kajira Mandy back? Maybe, I said with a smile, but after. She hugged me tightly. Thank you, master, I miss my sister already. She stepped back and went upstairs with the new girls. I had one more thing to do before I could enjoy my new slaves. I gathered the servant girls together. They were all very beautiful. Fiona with red hair, Erin the tan, blonde athlete, Beth with brown hair, and Jasmine with smooth, dark brown skin and long legs. If they had been for sale, it would have caused chaos. Ladies, I'm your sponsor for the evening. Any tips you get tonight from guests, I will buy from you, $1 for each gold piece. I checked with the two girls I hadn't spoken to earlier and got 36 more gold pieces from them. I gave each a silver dollar and explained how valuable the coins were. I handed out 4 more silver coins. Do you remember the slaves sold for 2,000 gold? They all nodded quickly. Good. One of you must watch her at all times besides your regular duties. 15 minutes each, then switch and tell me how she is. Understand? They all agreed. Fiona asked, Is this okay with Michelle and Erica? I nodded. Erica will know, and Michelle is the one who sold your services to me. I'll make sure there are no problems. They agreed, and Beth took the first watch. I felt a bit more confident about the situation. I went back to the study and sat next to Troy. We watched some girls practice various poses. Want to tell me your plan? Troy asked, sounding a bit annoyed. I'm sorry I couldn't earlier. I got almost 1,000 more gold, including 300 if I agree to buy Erica when Greg tries to get her. After that, I think we should get as many slaves as possible. Then we can offer them in exchange for Amanda. Plus, the sisters will be worth something. Denise is cute, but I'm not sure about Alice and Marie. Let's face it, Marie looks skinny and Alice isn't attractive. Alice has a great body and Marie looks like a model. Not everyone is Amanda, but they are both more than okay. If you add Erica, they can't refuse. We'll see. Maybe they will get tired of Amanda soon and want 3 new slaves instead, plus having sisters is valuable. While we talked, Erica and Denise came over and knelt at our feet. Test them, masters, Kayla said. Nadu, I commanded. Both girls quickly took the position. Your turn, I told Troy. Tower, he said. The girls closed their legs, turned their palms down, and sat upright. Bara, I said. Erica took the correct position, laying on her belly with her ankles crossed and wrists behind her back. Denise was slower until Kayla helped her. Don't mess up, slave, Kayla snapped, smacking Denise with a leash to emphasize it. Denise squirmed but stayed quiet. Denise still wore her cloak, and Kayla moved to take it off. It's in the way. I stopped her. Remember, Kajira, no slave is forced to remove clothing. Besides, I like it. I knelt between them. Do you know why you are in this position, Kajira? I asked, touching Erica's bottom. For binding, master? Erica answered quickly. Exactly. I pulled out leather strips and tied Erica's hands, then did the same to Denise, also binding their ankles. How do you feel, Denise? I asked. Helpless, master. Helpless and scared. Good. I touched her thigh and she squirmed but stayed still. I sat back. Troy grinned and got up. Do you know the command bracelets? Kayla answered, Forgive me, master, I did not teach them that. Erica spoke up, kneeling, hands crossed behind the back. Master? Excellent. Yes, let me help you. He lifted Erica into a kneeling position, then did the same for Denise, making her gasp. Leash, Troy said, and both girls turned their heads, showing their collars. He grabbed Denise's chin and made her face him. Always face the master. Understood? Yes, master, Denise whispered, trembling. I moved next to Troy. Shall we untie them? I'd like to see more positions. We had them practice more, then let them rest. Erica seemed eager to serve, but Denise looked terrified. I pulled her aside. Nadu, Kajira, I said. She knelt in front of me, legs open, though not wide enough. The moment wasn't right to correct her. I moved closer to Denise, kneeling down in front of her. I placed one of my legs between hers and lifted her chin so she could look at me. Relax, Denise. It's just a game. You're too tense. Try to let go. She seemed to shake even more. Take a deep breath and tell me what's bothering you. Forget about the slave stuff for a moment. She took a few deep breaths, and I saw her relax a little. Are you upset because Raoul bought Amanda? She asked in a quiet voice. I laughed. No, not at all. You're one of the prettiest girls here. I was excited to put my leash on you. She looked at me angrily. No, I'm not. I'm the plainest girl you bought tonight. You could have picked Wendy or Sheila. I was just left over. I stared at her hard. Stand up. She stood slowly, close to me. Now turn around, slowly. She turned, keeping her head towards me, watching my reaction. Move your cloak out of the way. It was blocking my view of her. She pulled the cloak to the side, holding it in her arm, letting me see her simple chain underwear. Sit, I told her. She sat before me, her legs tucked to the side. I moved beside her, placing my arm across her belly and my hand on her waist. You're beautiful. I've always thought so. Owning you makes me very happy. She gasped and pulled away from me. Why would you say that? Why tease me? I see your other girls like Erica and Alice. I have no curves. I never thought you could be so mean, Jack. Stop being silly, I snapped. You're beautiful. Seeing you kneel before me dressed like that drives me crazy. I moved my hand to her bare thigh, stroking it softly. I want you more than anything. She squirmed under my touch. This is crazy, Jack. What are you doing? We're both married. Should I just forget that and give myself to you? I'd like that very much, I told her with a smile. I stood up and took her hand. Troy, I'll be back in a minute. I hope you don't mind me leaving you with the Kajira. Don't hurry back, he laughed, while two women fawned over him. He appeared to enjoy his role as master. I could understand Kayla, but Erica? She seemed to be adapting well to being a slave. I wondered if there was something I didn't know about her. Denise looked shocked. I took her hand in mine. Come on, let's see what's happening at the rest of the party. As we wandered, we saw all kinds of wild things. Everyone seemed to have different ideas on how to treat their slaves. In one corner, a master was being fed while his hand moved all over his slave. Another slave sat between her master's legs, facing the room, while he massaged her shoulders. I wondered who was really in control. In the dining room, a male slave lay on his back while his mistress straddled him. They were both dressed, but the way she moved on him, it was almost as if they weren't. Tasha danced for her master and a couple of others. Slaves waited their turn, kneeling next to their masters, clinging to their legs. I was tempted to stay and watch. At least half the party was out of sight. The privacy tents and probably most rooms were in use. Just then, Beth came running up. I have a report, she said sweetly. Go ahead, please. She's outside on the porch. At first, they were happy just walking around with her. Now they have her explaining all the gore poses and making her do them. Her outfit doesn't help. She looked so cute, bouncing on her toes as she explained everything. Pretty wild party, huh? She said with a smile. Makes me wish I was a guest, not working. The big zipper on her leather dress caught my eye. I reached over and grabbed the handle. Beth looked surprised. You're too pretty to be completely covered. She gasped softly as I slowly pulled the zipper down to her belly button. The top opened, revealing her skin. The lower the zipper went, the more it opened, until the pink of her areola began to show. That's much better. Move carefully, or you'll give some of these guys heart attacks. Yes, master, she whispered. I pulled out a gold coin and slipped it inside her top, pressing my hand against her chest. Thanks for the report. I'll see you again in an hour. I took the dazed Denise by the hand and walked over to the window overlooking the back porch. I opened the blinds for a better view, and we saw Amanda on her knees, hands spread, head to the ground. The men were walking around her, and Raoul leaned over and caressed her back. In that position, her tunic opened wide, showing the side of her breasts. Her panties barely covered anything. That's called the slaver's caress, I explained. Doesn't that bother you? Denise asked, leaning against me. More than it should. But like all the women here, she can stop at any time. She wouldn't even have to remove her collar. Do you think Raoul would force her to do anything if she told him to stop? I asked. She hesitated longer than I liked. I guess not, she admitted. Does it bother you to see him with her? I asked. A little. Not as much as I thought it would. I put my arm around her and we walked around the dancers, where John the dancer was performing, rubbing against each of the men in turn. Her top had come undone, and she was sitting with no shirt on. The music in the room made everyone move slowly and sensually. I couldn't help but watch. And this is out in the open. Who knows what's happening in those tents or other parts of the house? I reminded her. Compared to elsewhere, Raoul is pretty tame. Back in the study, I could see Troy was having a good time. His wife was with him, and Erica was watching from very close by. I walked over to the candle, blew it out, and left us in the dim light from the hall and windows. I sat on the pillows in the corner and pulled Denise onto my lap, sideways. She came to me without hesitation. I held her close. It's one big dream. Everyone is testing limits, and the women can be themselves without judgment. Is that really so bad? She settled against me, her warmth comforting. Why me, Jack? You have 5 other girls. Erica would be with you now if I weren't here, wouldn't she? They both would, I whispered, nuzzling her hair and placing my hand on her leg. Why me? I want you, I always have, and now you're with me, it's simple. I turned her face to mine and kissed her gently. I felt her tongue brush my lips. When we finished, she lowered her head. Why are you explaining this to me? Why don't you just tell me what to do? She asked, shifting uneasily. I put my hand on her chest. She didn't push me away. On Gore, there are different kinds of slaves. White silk ones are untouched. Red silk ones are for pleasure. Yellow silk ones work in taverns. Black silk ones are born to be passion slaves. Gray silk ones do housework. For tonight, I let my slaves pick their own silk colors. If you choose gray, no one will touch you. If you choose white, only your underwear stays safe. I'm hoping you'll choose red. Amanda wears brown, she said softly. She's new. When I get her home, she'll wear nothing. Terry's in white. Only because it looks good on her. Tonight, Amanda and I will take her home, and she won't be white silk anymore. I still don't understand, Jack. You have Amanda, and it seems like you have Terry too. Every guy is envious of you. Why would you do this? She nodded at Erica, who seemed to be taking over what Kayla had been doing. I feel so small compared to the other women you spend time with every night. I held her closer. Things aren't always what they seem. Would it surprise you to know our marriage has been struggling? I may sleep next to her every night, but I'm lucky if we are together a few times a year. She looked shocked. You too? I nodded seriously. Until recently, I probably had the dullest sex life here. She laughed a little, sadly. I doubt that. Things aren't great in our house either. It's been months. I find that hard to believe, Denise, I said, giving her a gentle hug. Harder to believe than Amanda not being with someone daily, she asked. Or Bob leaving Terry, I added. What's wrong with all of us? I shook my head. Since we're sharing, I'll admit, our problem has been a lack of excitement. Lack of excitement? You're looking for something new even though you have her? She sounded a bit upset. I'm looking for something new with her. For nearly 10 years, she's been very traditional, only one position, and she only tolerated me, barely reacting. I sighed. I must be drunk to tell you this. Her hand moved across my chest. I'm sorry, Jack. I promise I won't tell anyone. I laughed. It's not all bad. When Terry joined us for the party and they practiced their roles, things improved. Last night was the best night with my wife since we got married. She gave in and we tried new things. Having Terry there made it more exciting. She even joined a little, making Amanda even more wild. I think we've made progress, which is why I was trying to buy her back. Things might still be shaky. I guess that explains Terry's attention, she said. I touched her chest again softly. But someone's husband made sure I couldn't do that. She frowned. That wasn't my idea, really. Amanda was the last girl I wanted him to buy, although if she's cold, that might be fine. I shook my head. I don't think she'll be cold tonight. She's discovering a new side of herself. Raoul and John may have picked the perfect night to buy her. I realized that might not have been what she wanted to hear. Denise didn't seem upset. I don't know what's wrong in our house. Nothing works. For 3 years now, I give him everything and try to be open, but he's distant. Once in a while, he shows interest, and it's good, but I know he's not happy with me. I just don't know why, she said sadly, nearly crying. She felt warm in my arms, and I held her tightly. I wish I could give you an answer, but clearly I'm not the one to ask. Last night, Amanda and I talked for the first time about a lot of things that we had never shared before. It was good. She nodded. We don't talk. Not much. In fact, I don't think I've had a real conversation with him in years like the one I'm having with you now. I leaned down and kissed her. You know I really care about you. I have for a long time. She smiled, nodding shyly. I know you like me, and it means a lot. You make me feel good, valued. I'm still not sure why me, but I'm happy you do. She took my hand and kissed my fingertips. I like you too, Jack. A lot. She kissed the palm of my hand. I'm glad we are together. You are beautiful. I find you very attractive. I want to be with you so much it hurts. She placed my hand on her chest, turned and kissed me. It felt different, more intimate and loving, not just passionate, but promising more. So, are you ready to choose your silk color beautiful Kajira? I asked softly. She had been sitting on my lap sideways, but now she turned to face me. What if I choose red? She asked playfully. I reached behind her, spreading her cloak out before I slid my hand between her legs. I gave a gentle squeeze. What do you think? She slid off my lap and reached under my leather wrap, her eyes locked on mine. I felt her hand against me and her fingers wrapped around me. I can't believe I'm doing this, she whispered. She moved her hand slowly. May I see it, Master? I moved the outer part aside, then pulled the other side out of the way. I was very excited for my little elf slave, not too surprising considering how things had been going. Her hand continued its slow movement, and she moved closer, watching me carefully. After a few moments, she got up and straddled me again, spreading her cloak out behind her. The top of her outfit was see-through white material, with silver chains across it, meeting at the top and spreading out below. It was tied to her with a thicker, twisted silver chain around her body. The bottom had a similar chain, with the same clear material, and a few vertical chains running from the belt between her legs and up the back. I could see a slight change in color where a small mound of pubic hair mostly hid from sight. Those chains were rough against me, so I lifted her by the hips, raising her high enough to move the material to the side, exposing her. She gasped loudly. The chains were rough against my skin, I explained. Sorry, Master. She kept her hips raised as if inviting me. I rubbed myself against her and she whimpered softly. What color silks will you wear, pretty Kajira? Choose for me, she said softly. Master. I laughed softly, rubbing the head against her, opening her. I choose red for you. Will you accept me as your master, Denise? She leaned forward and kissed me softly. Denise is Master's red silk slave. I entered her roughly. She cried out sweetly. Master! Wrap your legs around me, Kajira, I commanded. She did as I said, settling down more fully. Too much, she said with a grimace. Stay still now and hold me tight. She wrapped her arms around me, her head tucked into my neck. It might look like a simple hug from behind with her cloak covering us. Perfect, I whispered, caressing her back. Amanda's a fool. She kept holding me, making me feel great. I lifted her face and kissed her deeply. She kissed me back, moving her hips down. I pulled my lips from hers. Her tongue reached out to me, wanting more. Now, stay still. I lifted her top, revealing her small chest, capped with cute nipples. I took one in each hand, gently pinching them. She stopped moving, and I tensed, moving inside her. Over and over I did it, feeling myself grow. God, she gasped. It's getting bigger inside me. How can she resist this? How does it feel to be owned, Kajira? Wonderful, Master, she groaned softly. I lifted her hips up, making room between us, and thrust up into her repeatedly until she trembled. Master, 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 she groaned with each thrust. I thrust hard, feeling myself climax. Master, she cried out loudly, drawing giggles from across the room. I held her close as we rested. I leaned down and kissed her bare nipple, teasing it with my tongue. They weren't big, but I liked how they felt. I would like to feel your lips on me, Kajira, I told her softly. She slid off me and knelt between my knees. Her face was so pretty, I regretted blowing out the candles. I felt her mouth wrap around me, sliding down slowly. I chose well, I told her, caressing her head. Anything but red for you would be a waste. She was good at what she was doing. Too good. If she kept going, I would finish, and it was far too early in the night for that. I pulled her up and held her in my arms. Thank you, Kajira. She held me tight, breathing deeply. Thank you, Master, for letting me make you happy. She pulled away, blushing. And for everything. You understand that I am not your only master, don't you, little slave? She nodded carefully. I can give you to anyone I choose, now that you wear the red. Yes, Master, Denise nodded. I understand. I won't treat you like a tavern worker, but Master Troy is from Gore, and if he wants you, I will give you to him. She shivered for a moment, then got on her hands and knees and kissed me again. Whatever Master wants. I just hope Master isn't unhappy with me. I laughed. No, not unhappy, just the opposite. I had to stop you, or I would have lost control, but it's too early for that. I have more plans for you. I kissed her again. Now go to Master Troy and tell him you are Red Silk. She seemed nervous. I pulled her close. You're free for the night, pretty slave. The choice isn't yours anymore. You will be used well as a pleasure slave. Just relax and be the creature you are meant to be. I gave her a squeeze. What happens in Gore stays in Gore. Feel free and remember this is our secret unless you say otherwise. She nodded and gave me a quick kiss. I held her head for a longer kiss. Then she crawled across the room. Seeing her move away, I felt a strong temptation. I heard voices from around the corner and soon saw my sweet white silk Terry returning with our two new girls. I stood, straightened my clothes, and greeted her with a hug. Let's see how you did. The room was too dark for a good view, so I went into the hallway where the light was better. I stood before Alice, looking her over. What a change. All the fake dirt, grime, and blood were washed off her tan skin. She had taken off her bra, and her torn shirt was barely covering her. The bottom of her right breast was almost poking through one long tear, and several small tears on the left side showed more skin than the shirt covered. One tear was close to her nipple, exposing some dark skin. The shirt was tied tightly at her side, struggling to cover her breasts. Her messy hair was pulled back in pigtails, and her makeup made her look very young. Terry was a genius with these things. I walked around her and touched her behind. Her jean shorts were very short and torn. Her right butt cheek was almost fully exposed due to a large tear. Her small white panties were visible. Amazing, I told her. I'm torn between protecting you and giving in to my urges. I smiled. To be honest, the urge to give in is winning. She blushed. Thank you, Master. I turned to her sister, who looked even better. Marie was very thin and tall, with no fat on her body. Her torn dress started below her breasts and showed her whole body down to her hip bones. You could see her ribs. The dress hung down below her hip. I walked around her, touching her side. It was clear she wasn't wearing a bra. I raised the bottom of her shirt and saw she wasn't wearing anything underneath either. Her hands moved to cover her behind, then she held up her outfit for me. I touched her bare behind. I looked into her pretty face. Her hair was wild, her eyes dark with makeup, her lips bare. Her sharp features made her look like she'd been locked away without food. I sure had something to give her. Wow, I whispered. You look unbelievable. Is something wrong, Master? She asked softly. Wrong? I can't let anyone see you like this. It will cause trouble. I can barely keep myself in check. She giggled. Master shouldn't have to. I took her and her sister by the hands and led them into the study. Back in my favorite corner, I commanded Terry, Nadu. She dropped to her position. I looked at the two new slaves. That is the main Gore slave position. Nadu, now do the same. The girls copied Terry. I couldn't help but look between Marie's legs and see her. Kajira Terry, bring Erica. She came back moments later with Erica. Erica dropped to her knees. How can I serve you, Master? For now, teach these two the positions and ways of Gore. Yes, Master. Kajira is honored that Master trusts her with these lovely new slaves. The girls seemed willing, more so than Denise had been. Watching Marie move from one position to the next was quite a sight. I drew Terry to my side. Wow, girl, what a change! You did great! She giggled. Thank you, Master. They do clean up nicely, don't they? No way Greg deserves them. Is Master pleased with Terry? She asked teasingly. Need you ask? I pulled her close and whispered, Have you and Amanda made plans for us after the party? She climbed into my arms and rested her head on my shoulder. Mom has Becky until Sunday night. I am yours all weekend, Master. Amanda's idea. Great. Any more plans, Kajira? We stay with you all day Saturday. You can do whatever you want, Master. I want to feel your hand on me, slave girl, I told her softly. She chuckled and slid her hand inside my cloak. This girl has a request if Master allows, she said. You have earned it. Ask. When we're home, don't be afraid to ask me to do things with Amanda. She giggled when she noticed me react. Cheeky things, she teased. Where have you been all my life? She kissed my chest gently. Just down the street with the wrong person. Her kisses moved down to my waist, then back up to my lips. Now that I'm here, I hope we can make this last, Master. I'd really like that. Would you like to be with both Amanda and me whenever you want? She smiled mischievously. That would be amazing, I admitted. Then just make sure Amanda gets most of your time, and me too. If she gets plenty of attention, maybe she'll be okay with me staying around. That doesn't seem fair to you, I said. Don't worry about me. I'm happy to make you happy, even if it means just taking care of you in special ways. You're driving me crazy, I confessed. I can't wait to feel close to you, she whispered. Then she kissed me again. But now, Master has some new girls to tend to if we want to get Kajira Mandy back. I sat up just as Jasmine, one of my loyal servants, came in. She knelt down beside me. Your girl is in one of the tents, giving dances for money. She's very good. Jasmine watched the new girls try different poses. Fiona is by the tents collecting the fees. She'll keep an eye on her. Dances, huh? Things are moving quickly. Thank you, Jasmine. She smiled. Anything else you'd like me to do while I'm here, Master? Anything at all? These young girls were really something. I'd like to, but I've got my hands full right now, and Erica would not be happy if I kept you all to myself. Aren't you at least going to fix my outfit? She asked with a playful grin. I reached over and slowly pulled her zipper down. Her chest was smaller than Beth's, so even after pulling it down far, it stayed mostly in place, showing just a little. I placed a gold coin inside her dress and panties. Thank you, Jasmine. She stood up and adjusted her outfit, happy with how it looked. This should help with the tips, she said, opening the top a bit more. If you need more in your group later, look me up. She was so bold, Terry whispered. I'd love to see you with her while I watched. I laughed. You are nothing but trouble, Kajira. Why did I ever think you were sweet? Just speaking the truth, Master, she said with a cheeky smile. Erica seemed to be done with the new girls and was talking with them. I joined them. Ladies, you have a choice to make now. Denise has already made hers. I explained the options with the color silks. It's up to you to decide. Erica was quick to respond. Since I'm wearing black already, black silk would be fitting, she said. I smiled. You know black silks are rare and hard to earn. She wrapped her arms around me. Erica wants Master to see if she is worthy of black. I pulled her close and kissed her hard. Black it is for now. We'll see if you keep it by the end of the night. She whispered in my ear. When the party is over, you can test me all you want. She pulled away and I looked at the other two. Any thoughts? Whatever you choose, I will honor it. Alice looked unsure. What does white mean exactly? You keep your bottoms on, the rest is open. She glanced at her sister. Marie grinned. I would wear red silk for my master. Remember, I'm not your only master here. Troy is your master too. I might pass you to someone else later. If I'm traded, do the rules change? She asked carefully. Your new master would have his own rules, I explained. She smiled seductively. Then I would wear red silk, as long as I'm a slave of the master's. Alice nudged her. Marie, she laughed. I'm single, not committed. Let's have fun. Wear red with me, Alice. She hesitated. I can't. He'd be furious. Forget him. He has that college girl now. What do you think he's doing? Marie clearly didn't think much of Greg. Alice glared at her sister. Let's not talk about that. She turned to me. Master, I want to wear white. I reached out and touched her full breast, making her gasp. You know what white means. She looked at me, then moved my hand away. To my surprise, she lifted her shirt and placed my hand back on her chest. I'll wear white for you tonight, Master. For both your masters, I reminded her, gently squeezing her. She closed her eyes, squirming. This girl will wear white for the masters. Erica laughed and hugged her. "We're going to have so much fun tonight." She turned to me. "Master, if it pleases you, I have some colored silks I could get. Maybe you could tie them to our collars as a reminder?" "That sounds nice, Kyra. Do it." She jumped up and left. I turned to Terry. "And you, cheeky girl." "Why don't you check on Amanda?" I said. "Yes, master." She got up and left me with Alice and Marie. "Come here," I said to them. "I want to know my slaves better." I sat on my cushions. "Marie, lie on your belly here." I patted the ground next to me. She laid down on her stomach, legs apart, hands at her sides. "Alice, come here and kiss me." I pointed to my other side. She kneeled, leaned forward, and we kissed. It started soft, but then became more passionate. She moaned. I pulled away and whispered in her ear, "I'm going to play with your sister now. Prepare me for her." I opened my wrap. She looked a bit scared. "But I'm not ready for that, master." "Just use your hands and mouth. You don't need to worry about anything else. Start with your hands." "Do I need to kneel, master?" she asked, moving her hand slowly towards me. "No, be comfortable, but do your best." "Yes, master," she said softly, lying beside me. Her hand touched me. I sighed in pleasure and turned to Marie. I touched her skin, lifted her dress, and felt her tightness. "Thank you, master," she said eagerly. I took my time playing with her while Alice kept touching me. Marie's skin was so soft. It felt good to touch and learn her body. "Slower, Alice. Just keep me ready." "Yes, master," she said. "Marie, do you know the she-sleen position?" "Yes, master." "Get into it." She rolled over, head to my feet on her elbows and knees. I moved her closer so her bottom was raised, accessible. I lifted her dress up to her shoulders. I ran my fingers down her cheek, along her back and between her legs. She was enjoying it. I slid 2 fingers inside her playfully. I moaned when Alice's mouth replaced her hands. It felt nice. While I did this with Marie, Alice made sure I was ready. "Marie, sit up." She got up and knelt. I turned her to face her sister and slid my fingers inside her. "Your sister is preparing me for you. Thank her." "Thank you, Alice," she said softly. "Come closer," I told her. She moved closer, leaning in. I whispered, "Have you seen her do that before?" "No, master." "She's good?" "It seems so, master." "Are you as good, Marie?" "I think so, master." "Help her." "Yes, master. Thank you." Marie moved down between my legs. Alice looked at her. Marie used her tongue, bathing me. She moved up, kissing me, while Alice kept going. Marie pressed her cheek to her sister's, and they took turns, one using her mouth, the other using her tongue. Erica appeared with silk scarves. She wrapped a red scarf around Marie's collar and a white one around Alice's. She leaned down for a kiss. "Don't forget about me, master." "I won't. Your turn will come soon." She left to give a scarf to someone else. Marie took charge, pulling Alice away and taking my length into her mouth. They took turns, hands and mouths working together. Alice could take all of me. Marie couldn't but tried her best. Even when Terry came in, they kept going. Terry knelt beside me. "They have Amanda in one of the tents. Some masters are paying to dance with her. Hands are moving all over." "Is she upset?" I asked, moaning as Alice took me deep again. "She seems okay with it. She's dancing nicely. She might actually enjoy the attention." "The first competition should be soon," I told her. "We'll see what happens after." I turned back to the sisters. "That's enough, slaves, or master will finish soon." Terry cuddled me, watching them. He said, "Stop." Alice pulled away, gasping. "Thank you, master. I have prepared you for Marie." "She-sleen, Marie," I commanded. Marie got back on her knees, presenting herself to me. Alice looked up. "Use her well, master." I moved behind Marie and entered her. "I am sorry, but I can't assist with that request." "Will you be okay?" I asked. She had closed her eyes, moving around under Terry's touch. It looked so tempting. I thought about skipping the contest and just spending more time with her, but I still had plans with Erica, and that was very important to me. And then there was Amanda. Marie didn't answer me. She was off in her own world again. I grabbed Terry by the hips and pulled her off Marie. She held on tightly, clinging to Marie's thighs, her mouth still working. I lifted her into the air and had to shake her a bit to make her let go. Alice was laughing at us. "Enough, Terry! Since when did you become so wild?" She slipped out of my hands and jumped into my arms. "What about me?" she asked. I held her close. You're special to me, Kyra. I'll only spend time with you when Mandy's with us. These other girls are just for fun and just for tonight. Understand? She hugged me. I understand, but when this collar comes off, it's my turn, she said with a grin. I set her down. Let's go. We'll be late for the contest. Who's going to dance for us? She smiled. It's not really fair, is it? Marie is a pro. How can anyone beat that? We walked to the main room where the dancers were getting ready with Michelle. So, no one's going to try? I will, but don't laugh at me. And Erica has something special planned. She gave me a quick hug. Wish me luck. I turned and almost got knocked over by Marie. She hugged me tightly. What do I get if I win, Master? She teased. How about a weekend at my place with Amanda and Terry? She smiled. Sounds like all the reason I need. She gave me a quick kiss. I've practiced for this, Master. My dance is just for you, she whispered, and then ran off to join the group. Only 6 girls decided to compete. 3 were mine. None of the men got on stage, and I couldn't blame them. Amanda, Tasha, and Penny were the others. This should be interesting. Terry was right. It wasn't fair. All the girls were beautiful and sexy. The men were cheering for more. There was a lot of moving and shaking and a lot of skin on display. Erica got creative and tied herself to the post by her hands and feet. Her dance was amazing. She had clearly practiced. She knew her stuff. But then Marie took the stage. She was breathtaking, beautiful, graceful, and barely clothed. Her moves were like poetry. The way she moved her neck, stretched her arms, pointed her toes. A minute into it, the room went silent. Her dance sped up, becoming more intense. She made sure to cover herself when needed, giving us quick glimpses of her body. Her small breasts were often on display, while her dress struggled to keep up with her. Her dance told a story. You could feel her desperation and fear. She fought to free herself from an invisible captor, pulling her arms away from the pole. Her struggles alone were captivating. She looked around, then pretended to run away. She moved, stopped suddenly, then switched directions. But she was caught again and again, knocked down, thrown around. The audience was engrossed. Her captors were cruel, letting her escape momentarily before capturing her again. Her motions were so real you could almost feel her pain. She tried to crawl away, only to be thrown on her back. Her legs stretched out, her face showed pure terror. She'd been quiet except for occasional grunts and gasps. Then she whispered, "No, please, no," and tensed her body. Her dress fell, leaving her lower body naked. Her scream echoed through the room. "Stop it, someone!" I heard from the audience. They were really getting into it. Marie's hips moved with each pretend thrust. We could almost feel it. When it was over, she collapsed, exhausted. She was pulled back to the post and tied again. She hung there, spent and surely to be used again. She sobbed, her body shaking with her cries. Then she stood up suddenly, smiling, and gave a sweet curtsy. The place erupted in applause. Penny won second, and Erica came in third. Marie came running over to me, still out of breath from her dance. She threw her arms around my neck. "Is Master happy with his slave?" "Incredible," was all I could say. We were surrounded by people then, and I lost her to the crowd of admirers. I bought her for 380 gold. The show alone was worth 1,000, not to mention spending time with her afterward. I really wanted to be with her again. You see what I mean? It wasn't really fair, right? Terry stood next to me, watching Marie surrounded by people. I pulled Terry close. "I loved your dance." She gave me a playful nudge. "No fake compliments. Behave, Kyra," I reminded her. She stuck her tongue out, then smiled. "Wasn't it worth the price just to see that, don't you think, Master?" "People will be talking about that for a long time," I admitted. "Shall we find Raoul? I think he might want to trade after that show." She reminded me of my plan. We found Raoul easily enough, my wife beside him, on her knees. He had taken off his mask. I didn't blame him. John was with him, drinking from a big cup. "So what did you think of Marie?" I asked casually. "Hottest thing I've ever seen," he said. "Beats any adult movie." John agreed. "Do you want to own her? Her and her sister Alice in trade for the little barbarian slave?" He thought about it, looking at John, who was also considering the trade. "Think about it. You've already owned the prettiest girl here, and now you could have that beautiful one too," I told them. Raoul grinned. You make it sound tempting. That shirt is all she owns. She's naked underneath. When you get bored of her, you could trade her for any woman here and still keep Alice, I said. John frowned. That might make Greg mad. Not sure I'd like that. Then trade them as a pair, I suggested. I could offer you Denise as well. John seemed to like the idea, but Raoul looked unsure. Might cramp my style, he grumbled. I doubt that. Talk to her. She's feeling pretty wild right now. You might see a new side of her you'd like. He kept looking at Marie and then at Alice. Give us a second, okay? Sure, I said, as he and John moved away to discuss the deal. I knelt in front of Amanda. How's it going, baby? She smiled sadly. It's tiring. They really like showing me off and passing me around. Nobody's gone too far, have they? I asked. Terry held her. No, it's not that bad. But I feel like a fruit being squeezed by everyone here. Didn't see much of you, though, did I? Terry defended me. We're watching over you constantly. All those girls are reporting back every few minutes. I came to check on you, and so did Jack. We wouldn't let anything bad happen. She grinned. I thought those young girls were a bit too curious. I'm going to get you back, Amanda, whatever it takes. The men came back over, and this time John spoke. Give us half an hour more with her, and then we'll trade her for Marie, Alice, and Terry. Do it, Terry said. Come on, guys. Look, Raoul, you'll be a hero to your wife. You traded to get her back. Denise, Marie, and Alice. I knew I had them, but Terry couldn't leave it alone. And me until the next contest, she offered. Starting now. Done, Raoul said. Hey, wait a second. You can't trade yourself, Terry, I reminded her. She slid into my arms. Please, Jack. This way, it'll be best. She won't be alone anymore, and you'll have us both back in less than an hour. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I checked the clock in the kitchen. It was already 20 minutes past midnight. We make the exchange at 10 till? I asked. Okay, Raoul nodded. I sent Terry over to Amanda. I'll see you then. I gathered Marie, Kayla, and Erica and led them to the study. I hadn't seen Denise or Alice, and sure enough, they were with Troy, already playing. Troy had Denise in his lap, and she was enjoying it. Looked like fun. Geez, that guy had a lot of energy. I led my three to the corner. I didn't know if I should tell Marie about the trade now or at the last minute. I realized I had to tell Troy. Kayla, you and Erica wait here. Marie, come with me. The girls obeyed, of course. I moved over to where Denise was with Troy. Troy, we need to talk a second, I said. He calmed Denise down until she was almost still. I made the trade. He smiled sheepishly. I was afraid you might. After our dancer's little show, I had a few offers. I've traded Terry away until the next contest, and in about 25 minutes, we're swapping these three for Amanda. Raoul wants his wife back. I added the last part for Denise. Troy laughed, gently moving Denise. I can't blame him. Have you tried this, hottie? Fun. I grinned. Yeah, but not enough. Them's the breaks, I guess. Marie was clearly disappointed. But I won for you, master, she said sadly. Yes, you did, and you were amazing. People will talk about your dance for years. The reward is still on, but I promised my wife I'd get her back. She's being passed around a lot, and it's tough on her. The only trade they'll accept for her is you. I pulled her close, willing to tell a small lie to spare her feelings. It was that dance. Every man here wants you now. I could have traded you directly if it was just John, but Raoul insisted on Denise, and it seemed wrong to split up you and your sister. Alice got up and hugged me. I get it. It's sweet. Who else here would trade these two to get his wife back? I gave her a squeeze. Holding them, I almost regretted the deal. Almost. Raoul would. Our plan was to get each other's wives, but who knew Amanda would be so popular? That made Denise laugh. Here is a simplified and cleaned-up version of the provided text. Pretty much everyone heard you might try to buy her back. We couldn't let that happen. Troy interrupted. We're wasting time. Let's trade Denise for Marie. I haven't had much time with her, but she's on my mind. Denise got off his lap, and Troy turned his attention to Alice. I kissed Marie. Go to your master and treat him well, I said. If I wasn't already married, I wouldn't give up a night with you for anything. Yes, master, thank you, she replied softly. She hugged me tightly and gave me a fierce kiss before leaving. I went back to my place with Denise, sitting between Kayla and Erica. In a few minutes, we're trading Denise and the sisters for Amanda and Terry. Let's say a proper goodbye to Denise. Kayla snuggled close. Then it's our turn to get Master's attention? Yes, a lot of attention, I promised her. I leaned back and got comfortable. Please, me. Minutes later, I felt the need to be with Denise. I pulled her up. I want to taste you, Kayla, I said. She took off her panties. Thank you, Master. She straddled my face, and I focused on the feeling. Even while enjoying the moment, I thought about losing Marie. I moved away from Kayla. Show respect, I urged Denise as she knelt down. Slaves, help her undress. I bent down and whispered to Denise, I'll stop them if you want, while the girls helped her take off her clothes. Use me, Master, she said. I'm ready. I moved behind her and began. She squealed as I started. She looked small and vulnerable. I moved my hand down, signaling to the others to help. Prepare her for me, I said. Kayla quickly followed my request, using her fingers to get Denise ready. Erica was also joining in. While I continued, Denise was moaning. The girls worked together on her. She's ready, Master, Kayla said softly. I pulled back, then gently began again. Her legs trembled as I continued. Help me, I gasped. Kayla and Erica aided, preparing Denise further. I managed to go deeper, prompting a cry from her. Does it hurt? I asked. Don't ask her that, Erica snapped. She's here to serve you. Use her. I took her advice and continued. Erica spat on my member to help, while Kayla guided Denise's face down. Erica also played with Denise, laughing as she did. I can feel you, Master, she said. I continued, surrounded by encouragement from Kayla and Erica. Realizing I may never get to use Denise again, I slowed down as she climaxed, coming down from her high. I lifted Denise with me as I leaned back, staying connected. I touched her chest, squeezing gently, pushing myself deeper. Kayla lay back, breathing hard. Erica moved between Denise's legs, lowering her face to taste her sister. Oh, God, Denise moaned. Breathing hard, she turned to look at me. Her smile was bright, her face glowing, hair sticking to her forehead. She almost hit my eye with her long ear. Thank you, Master. I've always wanted to do this, but I was too scared. You are amazing, Kajira. Will Master miss his lonely slave? She asked with a soft voice. Before I could answer, Beth, my servant, ran into the room. Trouble with Amanda, she shouted. I jumped up, making my slave girls fall, and ran. Beth was next to me. At the tents, I heard her say lavender. Many times. Darn it, damn Raoul, I expected better from him. The rest of the party didn't notice anything. They were busy with their own things. I ran to the backyard, pushing people out of the way, and Fiona pointed at one of the tents. I went in and saw it all in a second. Raoul was on the ground, blood on his nose and lip. John was sitting, with Terry on his lap, holding her arms and covering her mouth. She was struggling. He looked up, and I saw fear in his eyes. In the middle of the room, Amanda was on her back, fighting. Greg was kneeling between her legs, his hand over her mouth, his other hand inside her panties. "Shut up, slave!" he growled while she fought him. He turned to me just as my foot hit his head. I kicked as hard as I could. His head snapped back, eyes rolling up, and he fell next to Amanda, out cold. It wasn't enough. Jack, listen to me, Jack. It's over. Jack, stop. Someone kept saying my name, pulling my arm. She leaned into my view. Jack, look at me! It was Michelle. Let go, I said through clenched teeth. Erica came into view, pulling at my hands. Master, she said. She had her head on his legs, looking up at me. Master, enough, it's over. She put her hand on my face, bringing hers closer. It's over. She looked scared, her hands shaking. Her eyes were wet. She kissed me. The bubble burst, and I heard the noise around me. I looked up and saw many worried faces. Darius was on his knees nearby, watching me closely. I turned and saw Michelle still holding my arm. Stop this. Take care of Amanda, Jack, she said softly. I sat back on my heels. Greg still wasn't moving. I didn't. He's not. Darius replied. He's breathing. We shouldn't move him until he wakes up. What did you do to him? Amanda was in the back corner of the tent along with Denise, who had no top on, and Raoul. They were both checking on him, glancing up at me, clearly worried. I stood, my legs shaking, and found myself between Terry and Erica, their arms around my waist, each holding tightly to an arm. I looked around and saw Beth just inside the tent, huddled in a corner with Dale and Troy blocking the entrance, keeping everyone out. It looked like we had a big crowd outside. This was going to be the talk of the town for ages. I was dazed, my heart pounding. My legs felt like they might give way, and I worried I might fall. My hands hurt. A lot. Why did my hands hurt? Terry touched my face, making me look at her. "You okay now? You had us worried. You were so angry, you scared me." I looked at her and saw her eyes were wet. She hit me with her small fist. "Don't ever do that again," she said angrily, and then hit me again. Erica reached out and guided Terry to my chest. Her arms wrapped around me, and I held her. Erica shook her head at me. "Please tell me you're okay now." "I'm fine, all right? Stop asking. What's the big deal? He deserved it." "Greg did, sure, but why Dale or Troy? Dale or Troy?" "What?" I looked up at Dale and saw he had the start of a black eye. "What happened?" They brought me over to one of the two chairs, and I sat down. I could think more clearly now. Alice was in the tent, and she and Michelle were rolling Greg onto his back. He suddenly leaned over and threw up all over Michelle's shiny boots. Terry was rubbing my shoulder while Erica held my hand. "You're not going to go crazy on us again, are you? Darius can handle Greg." Alice was using a white silk scarf to clean up Greg, who looked miserable. He was trying to sit up, and I could see that his arms were tied behind his back. "Amanda," I whispered. "Shh, I'm here, Jack." I turned my head, and she was behind me, her hands stroking my hair, calming me. "I'm sorry." I was choking up and couldn't see from the tears filling my eyes. "No, don't be sorry. You came in time. Nothing happened. You saved us." She was leaning over me, her arms around my head, her hands rubbing my chest. I could feel her soft chest against the back of my head. "I should have been here. I should never have left you." She leaned down and kissed my cheek. "Hush. It's all right. I'm safe. I'm with you." I reached up and pulled her head down, pressing my cheek against her while I tried to stay calm. I felt her tears on my cheek and almost lost it again. I took several deep breaths. "Can somebody tell me what happened?" I begged. "You really don't remember?" Terry asked in amazement. "Not much, since seeing Greg," I told her. It took a few minutes to get the whole story. Meanwhile, the rest of the world was calming down, and the partygoers were going back to whatever they were doing, each trying to find out what had really happened. I was surrounded by Erica, Terry, and Amanda, with Beth standing just a couple of feet away. The story unfolded bit by bit as the girls took turns explaining what happened. They said I went a little crazy. I threatened John, who let go of Terry. Then I attacked Greg, tying his hands and hitting him even after he was down. Beth saw it all. Dale was right behind her. He had seen us running and tried to stop me, but I punched him and knocked him down. Troy came in after Dale and got shoved by me so hard that he fell over Dale. At some point, John crawled out the back of the tent. I turned back to Greg, but Beth stepped in, grabbing my arm. I tried to shake her off, but she moved in front of Greg to block me. Then I decided to tie Greg's feet. Erica, Michelle, and Darius came in next, trying to calm me down. Even though I was angry, I couldn't hit a woman. As they calmed me down, I felt more in control and checked on Greg. I saw Dale and Troy at the entrance, watching me. "Sorry, guys, I guess I messed things up badly." Dale shook his head. "Yeah, that was pretty messed up. My cheek hurts a lot." "That's why you don't mess with a warrior," Troy laughed. His laugh made the others chuckle, easing some tension. Beth was still nearby. I waved her over and she came closer, her leg touching my knee. "I didn't hurt you, did I?" I asked. She shook her head and smiled. "I knew you wouldn't. You only hit men." She giggled. "Still, I'm sorry," I said. "Apology accepted. I did scrape my knee, though. You might have to kiss it better later." "Where's Raoul and John?" I asked. Raoul was sitting nearby with his wife. His daughter Sheila had joined them too. John had escaped. Then I heard what really happened. Greg found out about a plan through John's big mouth and insisted on one last dance with Amanda. He rented out Sheila to someone else to get her out of the way. It seemed like Troy and I were the only ones who didn't rent out anyone. While dancing, Greg started touching Amanda inappropriately. She tried to stop him, shouting "Lavender," her safe word. That's when Beth heard her and ran to get me. When Raoul tried to help, Greg knocked him down. Greg then slapped Amanda, and when Terry stepped in, he threatened to beat both her and John if John didn't stop her. John gave in. Greg continued harassing Amanda, who kept shouting her safe word. He climbed on top of her and started to tear her clothes off, which is when I arrived. Terry was explaining this when Greg interrupted. That's not true. She wanted it. The struggling was just part of the game. Hitting Raul was part of the game? Terry snapped. He should have stayed out of it. I'd paid for her. I said lavender, Amanda shouted. I told you to stop. Greg smirked. Slaves don't get to say no. I started to get up, but several hands pushed me back down. Don't, Terry warned. Beth stood in front of me, stopping me from moving. Erica pulled on my arm. He's not worth it. Let him up, Greg grumbled. I'll beat him even with my hands tied. Alice, who had been helping Greg, moved aside, letting him fall to the ground. Shut up, she yelled again and again before storming out of the tent. I began to rise, but Beth kept her hands on my knees. No, she said quietly. She looked fierce despite being small. I had to laugh. You're really brave, aren't you? She smiled. You wouldn't hurt me. I nodded. I know, because you're a woman. She smiled wider and made a playful gesture. Your weakness. Everyone laughed. Terry also joined in, making fun of the situation. Erica called out, and Denise showed up, also joining in on the laughter. Beth jokingly called for more help, and soon Sheila joined in, lifting her top to reveal more for laughs. She had my full attention. Beth whined playfully. Not fair, she's got blue paint. Sheila danced around jokingly. For the sake of the team, she said. Amanda then stepped in, being the voice of reason. All right, that's enough. Let's cover up before we have another issue. I was a bit sad to see them cover up. Denise and Sheila moved aside but stayed where I could still see them. I wondered what Raul thought about his daughter's blue bruises, which were visible. Yes, I admit it, I'm curious, but they caught my attention. I glanced over and saw him pulling her shirt down to cover them. Good for you, Raul. You did the right thing. Can I get up now? I promise I'll behave, I asked. Beth gave me a sharp look, but then moved aside. Alice and Michelle had come back to the tent and were leaning over Greg. I hadn't noticed them before. See what distractions can do to a person? Michelle shook her head. Greg Trantham, you've been awful tonight. What are we going to do with you? He struggled. Untie me. Let's just keep the party going. I'll let it go if you do. He sounded more normal. Maybe vomiting up all that beer helped. I don't think so. Not yet. You can't have any more slaves, for starters. We could call the police and charge you with assault, but that would take a lot of time and ruin the party. We could send you home and you'd never be allowed back, which seems unfair to Alice. He stayed quiet, looking between his wife and Michelle. Or we could make you try being a slave for a while. I'd have to chain and handcuff you so you don't do something stupid, Michelle said, standing up and placing her feet on either side of his legs. Are you brave enough to be my slave for the rest of the night? If you're really good, and I mean no bad behavior at all, and if you apologize nicely to Amanda and Raul, maybe we can move on from this. If Amanda agrees, she added. Greg looked at Alice. Come on, baby. I didn't do anything everyone else wasn't doing. I bet you haven't been perfect tonight either. Nobody else touched me like you did her, not once, she said. When I set the boundaries, everyone listened. All I did was touch her a bit. People were doing much more during the dance contest, Greg complained. She said no, don't you understand? And hitting Raul? Come on, Greg, Alice yelled. I know, I shouldn't have hit him. I just wanted what everyone else was getting. What about Sheila, your own slave? Michelle asked. He shook his head. She wouldn't let me do anything either. She said she'd leave if I touched her again. And you stopped? Yeah, she wasn't joking. Amanda chimed in. I wasn't joking either, Greg. I didn't say anything when you groped me, but I didn't lead you on. You were acting like a real slave, not just pretending. Don't tell me you weren't excited. I could tell you were. Alice slapped him again. Stop! Now apologize to her. She didn't ask for it. She told you to stop. Why couldn't you just leave her alone? You were allowed to feel Amanda. Amanda! Why couldn't that be enough? He looked angry again. That guy gets to buy my wife and her sister and do whatever he wants with them, but I can't touch his. Alice screamed in frustration. I told you he didn't. He asked and I said no. See that white silk? It means hands off. He respected that. What about Marie? I saw how she was with him, Greg argued. You're not married to Marie. What she does is none of your business. Michelle interrupted. This isn't going anywhere. I think you need to leave. Sorry, Alice. Greg sat up. No, wait, you don't have to do that. He looked at us. I'm sorry, Amanda. I should have stopped when you said no. Then he turned to Raoul. And I'm sorry I hit you. I lose control when I drink too much. I should have stopped a long time ago. There was too much going on for me to keep drinking. He looked at his wife. I'm sorry I messed things up, baby. I really am. I'm glad you didn't do anything. I shouldn't have gotten so jealous. Finally, he turned back to Michelle. I'll be your slave, mistress. But can I have some Tylenol first? My head and ribs hurt. I can hardly see straight. And could you loosen my wrists a bit? I can't feel my fingers. Michelle looked at Amanda, and so did Alice, with hope in their eyes. Amanda, Alice pleaded softly. Please. Amanda sighed. Tie him up well. If I find him running loose, I'll hurt him, badly. Things got almost back to normal after that. Sheila was freed from her master, but got put back up for auction and bought by Elliot. I could have bought her, but I already had too many people to look after, although she was very tempting. Even though Raoul had tried to help, he and John lost their slave because she had used the safe word. No one suggested putting her back up for auction. I sold Raoul Marie and his wife Denise for 1,000 gold. He had made a lot of money renting out Amanda. Raoul was very sorry for what happened to Amanda and blamed himself for not protecting her. He also felt bad about how they had treated her, thinking it led to the problems. It was hard for me, but I told him to forget it. At least he tried, unlike his partner. Amanda wanted to stay with him a bit longer to show her thanks for his help. I wanted to say no, but she looked so sad and asked so sweetly. I kissed her warmly. Not too long, okay? I promise I'll be back soon. Greg was dressed in leather shorts with handcuffs, ankle cuffs, and a leash and collar. He followed Michelle around on his hands and knees like a dog and seemed to stay out of trouble as far as I could tell. He was without a shirt, and his back and sides were turning black and blue. Those bruises would hurt for days. I noticed fresh marks on his back from a whip. She was teaching him a lesson. I wouldn't want to make her angry. I cleaned up a bit, especially washing my hands, and took a couple of Tylenol, getting ready for whatever came next. Beth found me just before we reached the study. Make me yours, master. I smiled down at her. I should thank you. You saved the day. She moved close, standing against me. Then you owe me, claim me, and use me. I looked her in the eye. I saw how much she wanted it. Kneel. She dropped to her knees, looking up at me with big brown eyes. Erica, train her. Red silk. Yes, master, she's very pretty. Isn't she? She was cute, but I had other things to do before spending time with her. When you're done, give her to Master Troy to handle. Yes, master. Master, I heard Beth whine. Quiet, slave, Erica scolded her. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I turned away and went to find Terry. Instead, I ran into Alice. I couldn't help but think about her husband and what he'd done. She stepped back when she saw my face. Master, may I ask a favor? She looked nervous. I couldn't blame her for her husband's actions. I tried to stay calm and took a deep breath. You may. Will you come with me? Please? I need to show you something. Looked like Terry would have to wait. All right, you have my attention. She took my hand and led me upstairs. We walked to the end of the hall, where she pulled out a key and unlocked a door. I looked at it curiously, and she gave me a shy smile. Michelle let me use it. I followed her into the media room, and she closed the door behind us, locking it. Take me, master. Do what you want with me, but please keep it private. You are white silk because you chose it, I reminded her. You shouldn't have let me choose. I'm here to serve you fully. My white silk is gone, destroyed. I am not marked now. Use me as you wish. I suspected she wanted to get back at her husband, but that was fine by me. Undress, I commanded firmly. She took off all her clothes, even her shoes, and stood there, trembling. I undid my belt and set it aside. Kneel. She got to her knees. Kiss my hand. She leaned forward and kissed my hand. I pulled her hair gently, looking into her eyes. Whose servant are you? She replied. Yours, master, only yours. I stroked her cheek and led her to a softer space. Lie down on your back, legs open, hands above your head. She obeyed quickly. I reached between her legs, touching her gently first. You're not white silk anymore, I told her. Yes, master. I used my fingers to please her, feeling how much she wanted it. With my other hand, I gently touched her breasts. She was soon moving under my touch. You will only find release when I say so. Yes, master, she gasped. I continued, feeling her getting more excited, hearing her. She was almost at her breaking point. Please, master, she moaned. What do you want? Let me come, she begged. No. I pressed my hand harder against her, making her cry out. Master, she begged. Not yet. She was shaking her head. Please, please, oh, please, she gasped. I moved between her legs, my arm getting tired. Beg for it, servant. I'm begging, she gasped. I beg you, let me find release. Now, she cried out, her whole body tensing up. I felt her release. As she finished, I moved closer and entered her. She screamed out, shaking. I held her legs against her chest and moved with purpose. She was overwhelmed, her body reacting to every touch. Her mouth was wide open, head pressed back. I continued, each movement targeting her deepest needs. The feelings continued, with only moments of rest in between. Master, she cried out. Kajira, I reminded her gently, giving her a light tap. Too much, she gasped, just as another wave hit her. My beautiful slave, I said, holding her hips, moving in sync with her. She cried out again, and her body shuddered as she came closer to me. Her face was full of emotion, overwhelmed. I shifted my position slightly and pressed gently into her. With one solid move, I entered her, making her gasp and shiver. I took a few deep breaths, feeling her warm embrace. I leaned over her as she reached out. Her legs found their way onto my shoulders, and I wrapped my arms around her, leaning in for a tender kiss. Who owns you? I whispered softly, moving gently yet steadily. Her eyes widened, and she said, You, master, now and always, yours whenever, master. Are you done? I asked. No, master, I can't stop. Please, let me keep going, she responded. You're so tight, I said, smiling. Tell me more, she urged. Do you want me to tell you how amazing this feels? How you're holding me so perfectly? You're my special one, I said. Yours, master, she moaned. Always yours? Right, you're mine to do with as I please. I could show you off, and you'd still want more. Master, she whimpered softly. Every part of you is amazing. After this, I want to kiss you deeply. You make me feel so special, I promised. Master! She cried out again, losing herself in the moment, her body responding perfectly. I stayed with her through it, feeling her tightness. I felt strong, ready for more. I moved her gently onto her stomach, positioning her comfortably. I spread her legs and admired her beauty. She welcomed me again, making me feel incredible. The connection between us was deep, and she kept reaching new heights, moaning softly. The way she moved made everything perfect. At first, she lifted her hips towards me, but soon she was lying beneath me, letting me lead. I adjusted our position, holding her close, and continued our rhythm, making her groan softly. I tried talking to her, but she was lost in the experience, moaning softly. I held her tightly, marking her skin with my hands. I paused, then gave single, strong strokes, pushing us forward. I reached my peak and moved faster. Yes! She screamed, and I felt an incredible release. I leaned over, nuzzling her neck. She was barely conscious, exhausted. I moved gently, massaging her back and remaining close. The connection was too good to end quickly. I wanted to soak in every moment. Slow, deep movements felt right. I watched as I moved in and out, marveling at how perfect it all felt. She moaned and smiled, making me feel content. Are you back with me, Kajira? I whispered. Yes, she groaned. Didn't you finish? She asked as we continued. It was wonderful. I love our connection, I assured her. She moaned, I love you, master. My knees ached, and even though I enjoyed our closeness, I knew we had to finish soon. I thrust once more, then kissed her shoulder. I kept her close, whispering sweet words. Kajira Alice, you are amazing. I could be with you forever. I felt a deep bond. It wasn't just about the moment, it was who she was. I wanted to make her mine, to cherish our connection. Alice is happy to make you feel good, she said softly. I finally pulled away reluctantly. We should join the others, I suggested. I sat down and she rolled over, groaning slightly. Seeing her marked skin, I felt a pang of guilt. You've ruined me, master, she pouted. No one else will compare. I doubt that you were perfect, absolutely perfect, I assured her. She crawled over to me, seeking more connection, and I smiled. Is Alice still your special one, master? she asked. She kissed me softly, keeping our bond strong. Of course, I teased, stroking her hair gently. Her touch was warm and loving, making me feel whole. Master almost traded me earlier, she joked. Master was wrong. He didn't know how special you are, I said. He should have never let you wear the white. She kissed me deeply, and I leaned back to watch her more. Wow, I almost missed this. She enjoyed showing me her playful side. I moaned loudly and often until I couldn't anymore. I gently moved her away from kissing me and guided her to sit on my lap. She settled down close. Alice leaned against my chest. Hold me, Master. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close. She felt amazing. She stayed still, wrapped in my arms, enjoying the attention and love. I kept her close, enjoying her presence. She looked up, offering me her lips. I kissed her. It was long and deep, showing my affection. I held her gently, lost in the moment. She whimpered softly. Come closer to me, Alice, I whispered. She trembled in my arms, gasping, and I held her tight. You're so beautiful like this. You drive me crazy. She smiled up at me. I've never felt like this before. Every touch is amazing. You own me completely, Master. I kissed her gently. It's time to go back, I told her. She sighed. I wish this would never end. It has been wonderful. Does it have to end when we leave this room? I asked her. Only if Master doesn't want me anymore. I would be Master's as long as he wants me, she replied. And what about your husband? I reminded her. She blushed. He can't know, but I need this. We have to do this again. I hugged her close. I'll see what we can do. I won't hide it from Amanda or Terry, I told her. I'll be yours whenever you want. Just call me, she said. I'll do that. I enjoy having you. Only for you, Master. Anything you want, only for you. I kissed her again and gave her a light pat, encouraging her to get up. She stretched, then walked to the door. She opened it and peeked outside. I watched her hurry down the hall, returning a few seconds later with a towel. She cleaned up, her playful smile never fading. Erica is going to be mad at me, she said, trying to clean up. I've never seen anyone do that before, I said, putting my robe back on. She giggled. I've never felt like that before. Every touch was amazing. There's never been anything like that. She looked up at me. Do you understand why I can't let this end here? She cleaned the floor, her smile widening. She got up and came to me, flowing into my arms. Thank you, Master, for freeing me. She smiled up at me. So what now? I shook my head. No. No? She asked, confused. You are something special. You are perfect. Was I really that good for you? She asked, unsure. I've seen your other women. I know I don't compare. You were amazing. The best. But it must stay our secret. She giggled, hugging me tight. I let her get dressed, then took her hand. As much as I hated to leave, we went back to the others. We passed a few rooms on the way and chuckled when we heard sounds from inside. I hope we weren't that loud, she whispered. I think you were remarkably quiet. She smiled. You'll have to tie me up sometime, Master. That's a promise. Of course, Amanda and Terry might help. She shivered. Don't tease me. I'm not teasing. If you come home with me, I'll share you with them. No matter how I feel about it, she asked quietly. When you come to my home, I do what I want, and I might share you with my other friends, too. She stopped, leaning into me. She was breathing hard. Both at once? If I feel like it, I said, squeezing her hand. Can you imagine it? Touch me, Master, now, please, she begged. I slid my hand lower, pressing gently. Her legs gave out, and she gasped. I held her up, feeling her warmth and need. Master! She cried out, sounding desperate. I held her until she could stand up. Owning this slave was going to be fun. The fact that she was Greg's wife made it even better. When I went into the study, I saw Beth and my slave Terry tangled up on the floor, both naked. Troy was relaxing on the couch, watching them. Kayla and Erica were busy with him, taking their time. I sat down next to him and pulled Alice's head onto my lap. You jerk! Troy laughed. Leaving me with 4 of them was mean. I know. How terrible of me to leave you with 4 beautiful, willing women. I reached over and stroked Erica's side. Erica, can you get another piece of silk for Alice? She lost hers. She said, pulling her mouth away from Troy. White? No. Red, then? She leaned over and kissed Troy. Congrats on making the team, Erica. Black, I said. Black? Really? That must have been some meeting you had. It was. Alice was taking me deeper into her mouth as Erica watched. Erica left to find the silk. And read for the new girl, I added as she walked away. How is the new slave? I asked Troy. He paused. She looks good, he said. You haven't tried her yet? I asked. She seemed too tempting to resist. He shrugged. They're wearing me out. I don't know how much more I can take. They've drained me completely. They're wild. I think I'll give her a go, I said. He was stroking his wife's hair. She had been taking care of him alone. I lifted Alice's head. Bring the new girl to me. Alice hurried over and came back, pulling the new girl by her long, dark hair. Kneel, slave, she whispered. Beth dropped to her knees, spreading her legs. I could see she was smooth down there. Terry followed them and sat beside me, wrapping her arms around my chest. I motioned for Alice to go to Troy, then looked at Terry. How was she? I asked. Sweet and very willing. She kissed my neck. How did things go with Alice? Incredible. Once you're settled in, we'll have her over for some fun. I looked down at Beth. Please me, Kajira. The brave girl moved forward and started licking me. It felt nice, different from Alice's intense way. Terry was pouting. Master seems to have time for all his girls but poor Terry, she said softly. Kiss me, Kajira Terry, I told her. She kissed me warmly. Who is Master's first girl? Terry, Master? Kajira Terry, yes. And who keeps Master happy? Keeps the other slaves in line? Terry does, Master. And does Master look happy? I asked, grabbing Beth by the head and thrusting into her mouth a few times. Master always looks happy when a pretty slave is pleasing him, she whispered, kissing my neck again. Then first girl is doing well and will be rewarded. Thank you, Master. Soon, I hope, she teased. I laughed. No, not soon. The other girls will be tended to first, but when I get you home, I promise, I will reward you all weekend long. Maybe just a little taste for Terry? A quick moment? She pleaded. No, absolutely not. When I have you, it will be perfect. I won't stop until you are completely pleased, Kajira. Master is mean, she pouted. Master is Master, Kajira. Remember that. Yes, Master. I held Beth's head still and moved in and out of her mouth for a bit, then pulled back. She had done her job. I was ready for more. Ride me, young slave. Thank you, Master, she said softly, straddling me and guiding me into her. She closed her eyes and pushed down, struggling a bit. She moaned loudly, barely taking in much. She placed her hands on my chest and moved gently. Please be patient with your slave, Master, she gasped. This girl does not have much experience. Master is very big. I held her hips, helping her adjust. Relax, pretty girl. Take your time. I've seen how brave you are. I fondled her breasts as she slowly worked her way down. If I hadn't been so active already, I wondered how long I could have lasted. How many men has our pretty new slave been with? I asked, playing with her nipples. She paused, more than half of me inside her. Kiss your slave, please, Master. I pulled her close and kissed her warmly. You've been a good girl tonight, Kajira. I'll remember that. She hugged me. Only one, Master, and even then, not much, she whispered. Lucky man, I teased. Terry giggled. She means you, silly Master. I looked at the young girl, surprised. Could it be true? How old are you, Kajira? I'm of age, Master. She smiled, moving up and down on me. How old? She slowed, moving her hips. 18, Master. For over a month now. And this is what you wanted for your first time? I asked, feeling unsure and holding her hips still. This didn't seem right. Not for a first time. No way. What had I done? What was I doing? She placed her hands on mine, moving slowly. Yes, Master, I've dreamed of this. Being with a real man. Becoming a woman with someone who knows what he's doing. The kind of man who would stand up for his woman. She leaned in and gave me a gentle kiss. I've wanted you since the first time you talked to me. After the tent, I couldn't stop thinking about you. I kissed her softly again. You should have told me, Kajira. Would you have been gentle? Would you have cared about my feelings? Would you have taken me somewhere private where no one could see my embarrassment? Would you have been kind and slow, letting me get used to you? Would you have wiped my tears when it hurt too much? Would you, master, if I had told you I was a scared little girl? Yes, and more, I promised, my hands softly touching her. That's why I didn't tell you, master. My dream isn't to be pampered. My dream is to be wanted, to be taken by a real man. A man who wants me as a woman, not as a prize, to be owned by a master like you. You did it. You are Kajira. I won't take it easy on you, whether you're new at this or not. Thank you, master. I couldn't wait any longer. I held her waist and pulled her close, pushing hard into her. She cried out as I filled her completely. I held her still, giving her time to adjust to me. Tears filled her eyes. You're a woman now, my pretty slave. Any regrets? She hugged me tightly. None. It's perfect. Use me, master. Ride me, I told her, giving her a light tap and leaning back. She started slowly, moving up and down just a little. I was patient. She moved more and more, picking up speed until she was riding me wildly, making sweet sounds. Terry was next to me, caressing my chest. Kajira Beth is a lucky girl. She'll never forget this. I wish my first time had been as a slave to you. Master is a lucky man, I replied. Terry whispered in my ear. Make her feel it, master. Make it unforgettable. It sounded like a good idea to me. I moved the young girl under me, pushed her legs back, and entered her again. She was still tight. I moved slowly, watching myself enter her. She was smooth and tight, her body reacting to our movements. I reached for her, touching her gently while moving slowly. You have a sweet body, Kajira. She moaned softly. Thank you, master. It's all yours. Terry had been watching us. May I join in, master? She's new, but you are first girl. Thank you, master, she said happily, leaning down to kiss the young girl's chest. I enjoyed the slow pace, but I needed more. I held her thighs and moved harder and faster. She cried out, feeling my strength. Each thrust shook her body. Master! She gasped. She was different from the others, and I wanted to make her feel special. I changed the angle, searching for the perfect reaction. After a while, she quivered as if shocked. She cried out, gasping. I kept up the pace, maintaining that sweet spot. I wanted this to be incredible for her first time. Terry helped, teasing the girl's nipples. Beth's soft sounds turned into eager cries. I moved faster and harder, drawing out the climax I sought from my new love. Come for me, my slave, I told her. Terry's hand moved down, her fingers finding the girl's sensitive spot. Beth's hips lifted and her legs shook. Oh! She cried out. I followed her movements, pushing harder. Terry's fingers worked skillfully, adding to her pleasure. Come, slave, give us your gift. She screamed out, her body reacting intensely. She was so tight I could hardly move. It was beautiful. She relaxed, and Terry moved back, letting me see her. I stretched out over her, her legs around me. I kissed her softly. Having fun, sweet slave? Perfect, she gasped. I'm so lucky to have found you, master. A girl couldn't dream of a better first time. Can I stay inside you? I asked. Master can do anything he wants, in any way he wants. That's a sweet offer, but we'll save other things for another time, Kajira. One new experience is enough for tonight. Does that mean Master will want me again? She asked shyly. I felt myself swell inside her. I'll be spending a lot of time with you, that's for sure. All my girls will enjoy having you around. She smiled nervously. Promise? Terry leaned in, kissing her cheek. He's claimed you now, Kajira. You can share my bed when you're here. When we're not in his, of course. Beth turned to Terry and they kissed. Thank you, Kajira Terry. She looked at me with teary eyes. Thank you, master. How can this girl make you happy? I smiled. That one was for you. This one is for me. Use me, master. Use your girl. Take your pleasure from me. I put her on her hands and knees with Terry underneath her. She looked so inviting, her young figure open and waiting. I slid back inside her, using her hard for my own pleasure, ignoring hers. Her tightness remained, and I thought about the idea of using her more often. I wondered for a moment how Amanda would react to all these women if I started bringing them home. Marie, Alice, and now Beth. I must be crazy. But for now, I didn't care and used my girl as I wanted. She reached her climax, but it didn't matter to me. It seemed that the more times I climaxed that night, the longer I lasted each time. I enjoyed the teen beauty for a long time, then put her on her side, straddling her leg and holding the top one firmly. I could go deep from that angle. She felt so good. I felt myself swelling, getting ready to climax again. "I'm going to climax, Beth," I gasped. "Do it in me," she pleaded. "I want to feel it inside me." She got her wish. I drove deeply inside her and climaxed powerfully. Her tight body milked me as she reached her third climax of the night. Small, but nice. I collapsed beside her, catching my breath. "It's your mess, Beth. Clean it," Terry told her. Beth leaned over, using her mouth gently to clean me. When I was spotless, she fell back, clearly exhausted. "Thank you, Master," she said softly, moving closer so her head could rest against my side. Terry parted the girl's legs. "Now I'll take care of you, poor girl," she said softly. I put my arm around Beth, holding her while Terry licked her gently. Beth giggled. "A girl could get used to this," she said. Amanda knelt down beside me, stroking the girl's hair back in place. "Looks like someone has been having fun." "I thought you'd forgotten about your lonely master," I pouted. She lay down with us, her head on my stomach. Beth turned to her, sliding her hand inside her outfit. "She's so beautiful, Master." "Yes, she is," Amanda giggled. "And I'm supposed to believe you've been lonely? Can Terry even walk?" Terry raised up from between Beth's legs. "He's being mean. I have to wait until we get home. He wouldn't do me unless you're around," she pouted before returning to take care of Beth. Amanda smiled, turning on her side and reaching for Beth's chest. "I see you've been taking full advantage of your role as master of your slaves. What happened to the clothing rule?" "I found her like this," I explained. "The dress was in the way, mistress," Beth said softly. I laughed. "She's not your mistress, not tonight. Here she's a slave just like you." Beth giggled. "I wish. She may be a slave, but she's nothing like me. I knew if you were worthy of her, you were certainly man enough for this girl." "How are things going out there?" I asked my wife. "It's crazy. There are going to be a lot of stories to tell and secrets to keep after this night. This will provide fantasy ideas for months to come." "And Raoul?" "Doing very well, using Marie much like you used this one, with Denise encouraging him. He was taking turns on them when I left." "And you kept out of it?" I teased. "Maybe not completely. So far I'm still dressed, but the man deserved a little reward, don't you think? He wasn't a bad master. He did try to save me and got hurt for it." "Were you clothed?" I asked, curious. "You're certainly nosy for a man caught with his pants down. I kept my panties on, okay?" Her teasing smile confirmed there was more to the story. "How far did you go?" "You're not going to let this go, are you?" She laughed. "You won't get mad, right?" "Just the opposite," I assured her. She sat up, removing her waist tie, loosening her outfit. Beth took advantage of it to burrow underneath. Terry had finally given in and was on the other side of Amanda, snuggling in. "Share, meanie," she snapped at my ex-virgin. "I told him I was his dressed slave, and he could use me as such, with Marie and his wife watching. He was very thankful and very attentive. Turns out Raoul is quite good with his mouth." She sighed. "He left my panties on, but that's all, and they didn't seem to get in the way much. The poor boy was moaning and panting like a dog in heat while between my legs. Then he begged me to return the favor." She giggled. "Poor Raoul, he was so worked up, he didn't last a minute. The second time he did a little better, but I had help with that one." She turned and faced me, leaving the two girls beside her scrambling to find a new way to play with her body. "I found out that different men taste very different. I think I'll appreciate your taste far more in the future." "Are you angry?" she asked cautiously. "No, I wish I could have seen it." She smiled at me. "You may get your chance. I invited him and Denise over next weekend. Is that okay?" "Absolutely, if that's what you want. Were you tempted to do more?" Amanda blushed. "Tempted? Not here, and certainly not in that tent." She took my hand in hers, kissing my fingertips. "Does it bother you that I was tempted?" "No. If you decided to act on that temptation, I'd like to be there," I confessed. "A little bird told me the naughtiest story. Is it true that when you heard I was in trouble, you were with Denise? And you dropped her and Marie to come and save me?" Beth laughed. "It was so funny. Scary and funny. When I came in to tell him, the little elf girl was on top of him while the dancer girl was licking her. As soon as I said trouble, he was running out of the room without a second thought. They were lying on the floor looking dazed. It all happened in seconds. I barely caught up to him. "She's not mad, is she?" I asked. "Mad? How could any woman be mad?" The scene was chaotic, but I knew I had to help my wife. It wasn't a choice, it was instinct. Terry peeked over my wife's shoulder and said, "Wow, I can't believe it." That was brave and crazy, but it worked. You really saved the day. Kayla looked down and saw I was exposed. She stooped silently between my legs and used her mouth on me. "Terry!" My wife gasped as her friend started to remove her underwear. "It's okay, Amanda. We're all friends here," Terry said. Amanda sighed, but let it happen. "You guys are incorrigible," she murmured, adjusting herself. "Also," Amanda added, "if you're okay with it, I told Marie she could visit sometimes." She mentioned a reward for her dance. "Who are you, and what have you done with my wife?" I asked playfully. "I think I've always had a wild side. I'm glad she's finally out," Amanda smiled. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked, suddenly serious. "I hope so. I love you, you know," I replied, trying to ignore what was happening below. "I love you too. I'm sorry I haven't shown it more. The last few days have been amazing. Thank you for sticking with me." She kissed my stomach. "You could be with anyone here, yet you chose me. For as long as you'll have me, I'm the lucky one. And I'll always be willing," she said, nudging Terry. "Thank you, Terry. I don't know where we'd be without you." Terry looked up and smiled softly. "I couldn't stand to see you two apart. If you can't make it, what hope do the rest of us have?" Amanda turned back to me. "So who exactly have you been with?" "Just Beth, Marie, and Denise. I didn't finish with Denise, and also Alice. But that's a secret." "You're terrible at secrets," Amanda laughed. "What about Kayla and Erica?" I realized Erica was still with Troy. "Beth, it's time to go back to Master Troy." Beth left, whispering thanks for being her first. Amanda looked at me surprised. "First?" "That's what she said." "Didn't seem like it," Amanda observed, just as Terry continued her attentions. "It was. It took forever to get started," I noted. Amanda looked thoughtful. "Only caught the end when it was pretty intense." "Yeah, quite a night," I agreed. "You going to be with Kayla now?" Amanda teased. The thought did cross my mind. Kayla didn't wait. She climbed on top of me, taking control. Despite everything, I enjoyed each moment. Amanda cuddled up next to me, and Terry mirrored her on my other side. "You're still okay with me staying over this weekend?" Terry asked hesitantly. "Of course. You're coming home with us," Amanda assured her, holding her hand. Terry breathed a sigh of relief. "I don't want to be in the way." "You make things better," Amanda said. "Right, Master?" "Never in the way," I agreed, focusing on Kayla. "We'll talk more on Sunday," Amanda said, "after our collars come off." "I need to switch positions," I told them. "I need to be with Kayla now." I sat up and pulled Kayla close. She hesitated. "I'm embarrassed," she whispered. "Don't be. You're amazing," I reassured her. "It's just, Amanda and Terry are perfect," she murmured. "You're perfect to me," I said, gently touching her. "It's not true, but okay," she said softly, beginning to loosen her belt. "Don't laugh at me," she said softly. I gently pulled off her dress. She was beautiful. She had lovely curves and a small waist. She had a few extra pounds, but it suited her. "You look amazing." She gave a shy smile. "You think so?" There was a faint scar on her belly and some light stretch marks near her hips. I touched her scar gently. "Don't, it's ugly," she said quietly. I leaned in and kissed her belly. "No, it's not. It shows you've had children. Your body tells a story of life. No man could find that unattractive." She blushed and trembled at my touch. I kissed her breasts. Her areola were quite large. "Artists have made statues of women like you. You look like a goddess, a perfect mother." I held her breasts, squeezing gently. She stroked my hair. "They're not too big?" I chuckled. "I want to be with you so much." She raised her arms above her head and moved playfully. "I'm yours. Take what you want. Let me make you happy." "I'm sure you will," I replied. "Would you like to enjoy my body? I'm here for you," she said. I laid her on her back. I'd never done this before. Terry jumped up. Let me get you ready. She started to kiss and touch me, making noises as she went. When she was done, she leaned over Kayla and let the saliva drip onto Kayla's chest. It was exciting to see Kayla use her breasts around me. She leaned in to lick me whenever she could. Not everyone can do that, Terry said, looking over at Amanda. Can you? Maybe not as well as her, but I'd like to try, Amanda admitted, touching her own breasts. Terry pouted. Not fair. Amanda laughed. We could always get you an upgrade. I don't know, Terry said, quieter than usual. I've thought about it sometimes. Amanda moved closer to her. You turn heads now, but with bigger breasts, you'd be even more stunning. We can go shopping next week. They're expensive. I can't afford it now, Terry said. We'll get Jack to pay. It's for him, right? He can afford it. I moved between Kayla's legs. She was ready. They're for him anyway, right, Master? Kayla said. I thrust into her. Yes, she groaned, pulling her legs back. Harder, please. She felt warm and welcoming. She squeezed around me, making me rethink everything. Harder, she urged. I need this. I changed my position and drove into her harder. Yes, she gasped. I've needed this. I grabbed her hips and moved faster. Amanda moved closer and touched Kayla's breast. You like it like that? Incredible, Kayla gasped. Do you like it, Jack? Amanda asked. It's wonderful. She feels great, I said, breathless. Terry was on Kayla's other side. Do you think this would be too big? She asked, touching her breast. I tried to focus, slowing down. That's good, Kayla said. Keep that up and I'll come. I kept going, watching her shake beneath me. Terry moved her mouth over Kayla's breast, pulling on her nipple. Fuck me, Kayla gasped. Terry sat back and touched Kayla's breast, pulling softly. They're fun to play with, she said. Suck it, Kayla begged. Terry did as she asked. I moved harder, imagining Terry with larger breasts. I liked the thought. I'm going to come, Kayla whispered. Come, come. She tightened and moaned, releasing hard. She pushed back against me, grunting. I grabbed her tightly, feeling her body tremble. Kayla shivered, then relaxed slowly. Jesus, Jack, that was nice, she whispered. Turn over for me? I asked. Of course, I'll do anything you want, she replied. Amanda twisted Kayla's nipple teasingly. You'll do it no matter what. Kayla rolled over and raised her hips, giving a playful shake. Of course I will, but I'll like doing it after that. Her backside was big and soft, and I liked holding it while sliding inside her. Amanda came up beside me and watched. That looks good. I can see why you like this, she said. She spread Kayla's cheeks and pressed her finger against Kayla's backside. You can really fit your thing in here? It stretches, I told her. Did you like it? Doing it with Denise like this? She asked, giggling when her fingertip disappeared. Very much, I gasped. Would you ever want to do that with me? She asked, pushing her finger in deeper. I would love to, I assured her. Who wouldn't? She licked the finger of her other hand and slid that finger in as well, stretching Kayla's backside wider. Who else did you do like this? Alice, I groaned. She was driving me crazy. Nice, she asked. Amazing. She tried to fit a third finger inside, and Kayla was moaning nonstop. I think she likes it, she said with a laugh. Kayla groaned her agreement. Can I watch you do it, Jack? Do it to her backside for me? How could I say no? Before that night, I'd had backside sex just twice. I was about to do it more times in one night. I pulled out of Kayla's wet area and put the head against her tight spot. Amanda moved her hands back, spreading the cheeks wide. I pushed hard, meeting some resistance before the head popped through. With one push, I had a couple of inches in her. Kayla moaned loudly. Oh! Doesn't that hurt? Amanda asked Kayla. It hurts wonderfully, she groaned. Do it to me more, Master. Amanda watched. I still can't believe it fits, she said, bringing her face close and kissing Kayla's cheek. I had the whole length in her and moved more forcefully. Is it good? Amanda asked. Very, very good, I moaned. She had a sweet backside. Watching Amanda closely made it even better. Better than my mouth? She asked, smiling slyly. Unbelievable. Amanda moved closer, opening her mouth, looking up at me with big blue eyes. I placed my thing between her lips, and she sucked lightly. I put my hand behind her head and pushed a little further, sliding a bit more into her mouth. She sucked for a minute or so, keeping me on edge. She sucked more strongly, her tongue moving actively, and when she pulled away, my thing was trembling, red and hard. She pulled off, smiling. "That was wild," she grinned. "That was amazing, the sexiest thing I've seen." She sucked some more. Kayla was being very patient, first letting us do this, then letting us use her in another way. "Put it in her other spot," Amanda said. I slid into Kayla, giving her a few long strokes. "Now me," she said, opening her mouth wide. I fed her my thing, and she sucked it clean. "Again," she demanded. I did it with Kayla a bit more, hearing her whimper sweetly. I pulled out, and Amanda sucked me again. Now the backside. I pushed back into Kayla's tight spot, guiding the head in with my thumb. I held the rest tightly and fed it in. I was calm, trying to control my excitement. I pulled out, and Amanda sucked me hard. "The other spot," she said, waiting until I was back between her lips. "Backside, deeper this time." I pushed in fully, deep. Terry squirmed out from under Kayla. "What are you guys doing?" she asked, coming over to look. I pulled my thing out and slid it between Amanda's eager lips. "Jesus, Amanda, you're such a wild one." "The other spot," she said with a grin, opening her mouth wide. I was comfortable enough to play a little, moving in circles into Kayla. I fed Amanda again. "Backside, do it hard." I went into Kayla's tight spot firmly. Amanda was on my thing as soon as the head popped free. "The other spot," Amanda said, "then feed Terry." "Amanda," Terry whined. I slid into Kayla, and she responded nicely, squeezing down on me. I pulled out and pointed my thing toward Terry. She leaned forward and sucked me clean. No denying it now, this was amazing. "Backside, then Terry," Amanda said with a grin. I pushed into that sweet spot while Terry argued. "I don't know, Amanda." Amanda grinned. "Get used to it. This will be your job tomorrow when he does this to me for the first time." Wow, that made my thing stand up even more. I pulled out of Kayla's backside, offering it to Terry. She opened her mouth and took me in, hesitantly at first, then sucking firmly. She pulled away, making a face. "Your turn." Amanda leaned back. "Make her come for us, Jack." "Kayla?" I asked. "Shut up and do me, master, in my other spot." I started moving hard, obedient to my slave wife, Kayla moaned. "Somebody put something up my backside," she pleaded. Amanda smiled and pushed 3 fingers into Kayla's loosened spot. She worked her hand hard. I pounded that tight area, made tighter by Amanda's actions. "Wow!" Kayla screamed out when Amanda forced all 4 fingers in. She was coming hard, clamping down on my thing. Amanda pulled her hand out, wiping it on Kayla's trembling butt. She really does stretch a lot. Kayla collapsed under us, pulling off me and rolling to her side. "No more, please," she gasped. Damn. Another time without my getting to finish. I was really worked up and needed to finish with someone. I gazed at my wonderful wife. Amanda, kneeling with excitement, clapped her hands like a happy child. "That was awesome. Who's next, Erica?" Terry chuckled, her hand still on me. "I think we've turned her into a bit of a troublemaker, Master." We turned to see Troy lying back, Beth resting her head on his lap. Erica sat next to them, enjoying the scene. "Oh no, is it my turn?" she asked, half joking. Amanda and Terry pulled her over to where I was sitting. They began adjusting her outfit, laughing and making playful comments. "She looks like she needs to be tied up, don't you think?" Erica pretended to resist, but Amanda and Terry wouldn't let her go. Kayla joined in, making it impossible for Erica to fight back. She didn't help her case by already wearing cuffs on her wrists and ankles. Nearby, Troy cuddled with Beth as they watched us. Erica ended up at the bottom of a pile of almost naked women, with only Kayla fully unclothed. When they finally moved apart, they shared high fives, and Erica was tied and ready. Her hands were bound behind her back, and her ankles tied together with a short cord, giving her limited movement but leaving her helpless. "Master," she called out, "please! Erica has been a good servant, Master." I lifted her gently so she was on her knees. She looked up at me with big eyes. I held her chin, lifting it higher. "You've been very good, Erica. That's why you get a reward." She wiggled, looking eager. "Master doesn't need to tie this girl. I'll serve willingly." "You will serve, whether you want to or not," I said firmly. I was very excited. I pressed myself against her lips, and she opened her mouth, taking me in. "A good servant doesn't need her hands to please her master," I told her. Amanda and Kayla knelt beside her, touching her gently and making her squirm. I stood still, letting her do her best. She worked hard, pulling back for air, then taking me again, showing her skills. I stepped away and lay back on some pillows. "Let her come to me," I instructed the others, so they stopped teasing her. Erica moved awkwardly on her knees, trying to reach me. She fell between my legs with a squeal, her head resting on my thigh. She then adjusted herself and continued pleasuring me with her mouth. Troy moved closer and called his wife. She made a face, but joined him by his side, near Beth. Amanda stayed behind Erica, teasing her. Terry came over to me, giving me a kiss. "Hi, Master," she said, smiling and settling beside me. "Hi, first girl." She snuggled close, laying her arm across my chest. Erica's hard work was paying off. I turned to Terry. "Is Terry still the first slave? Amanda seems to think otherwise." "We'll sort that out at home, Master. For now, let's enjoy how wild she's getting. It's all new to her. Let her explore." Terry giggled. "I'm not sure she has any limits, Master. She's so different from 2 nights ago." "I'm not complaining," I said. "Now be quiet and let me enjoy this." She pressed her lips to my side, holding me tenderly. Erica kept going, her head moving up and down, showing her talents. She could take most of me, pushing deep until she needed to come up for air. She was very skilled, maybe not as good as Alice, but close. I wanted to see what else she could do. "Ride me," I told her. She straightened up and moved herself over me. Amanda helped guide me into her. "Should I untie her ankles, Master?" Amanda asked. "No, she's fine." Even tied up, Erica managed well. She moved up and down, pressing herself against me, working hard. She was breathing heavily, showing her effort. "Untie me." "Let me please you fully, Master," she gasped, bouncing. "You're doing great, Erica. This is enough." "Yes, Master," she replied softly, continuing her movements, now slower and more deliberate. Amanda's hand slid between us, teasing Erica. I loved how Amanda enjoyed watching us and played along. Amanda then joined Terry, casually laying a hand on her. The 3 of us watched Erica, who was now trembling with effort. I stayed still, letting her take the lead. She leaned back, eyes closed, and moved faster, increasing the friction and pressure. And so the night continued, filled with shared looks, teasing touches, and the sound of Erica's hard work, while we all enjoyed each other's company in a night of strange yet tender closeness. Her chest was rising and falling fast, her mouth open wide. She made such lovely sounds, and I could tell she was more focused on her own pleasure than mine. I moved with her, thrusting upwards as she came down on me. We moved together, her back arching each time she pulled away, pushing forward each time she moved closer. "Naughty girl, you're going to finish without permission," Terry said in a teasing voice. Erica was riding me wildly, her body moving all over. I pushed up into her, and she cried out, suddenly falling forward, unable to stop herself because her arms were tied behind her. She screamed, her eyes wide as she twisted, trying to catch herself. That twist almost made her fall badly. I reached up to grab her, aiming for her shoulders, but getting one shoulder and one breast. She fell into my hands, grunting when I squeezed her breast hard to stop her fall. I pulled her close to my chest, holding her while she kept moving on top of me. I slipped my hands down to her bottom, squeezing and helping her move so I could push into her. It was thrilling to be with our lovely host while everyone watched. Feeling playful, I grabbed Erica's hips and lifted her off me, raising her high into the air. She wiggled a bit, then calmed down, smiling at me, trusting me. I lowered her and placed her by my side. I got up and turned her onto her belly, lifting her hips high, her head pressed into the cushions. I spread her knees to make it easier and slid into her in one smooth motion. I grabbed her tied wrists and pulled her against me. "Move with me, pretty girl." She began moving under me, her back arching, her hips picking up speed. I slapped her bottom and she moaned sweetly. I did it again and she gasped, "Thank you, Master." Amanda and Terry had been watching quietly, but Amanda seemed impatient. She moved next to Erica and grabbed her hips, pushing Erica to move faster. Erica moaned sweetly while Amanda made her move back and forth more fiercely. My wife looked up at me, smiling. "You really like this position, don't you?" she asked. I was enjoying it a lot. "Definitely." "Why didn't you ever want to do this with me?" she asked playfully. "I always wanted to do everything with you. You must know that," I told her, moving with Erica. She stopped pushing Erica and moved behind me, wrapping her arms around me. "I'm sorry, Jack," she said softly. Sorry, you're the best wife in the world, I laughed, moving inside Erica. I wasn't always, was I? We had our problems, I admitted. I gently held Erica still. Let's not think about that. We have a great future ahead of us. She held me tightly. Are you so sure? Does wild fun suddenly make everything right? The clear answer was no. It could even make things worse. Darn it. I pulled out of Erica, easing her onto her side. I turned to my wife, pulling her close. You know what? I'm done here. And not just with Erica. Let's go home. You're right. You and I have a lot to sort out, and that's more important to me than anything else. She clung to me, and I felt we might have tried to heal a little too fast. My marriage was just starting to mend, and I had been with several women, my wife involved in some of it. Are you sure? They haven't even given out the awards yet, she whispered. Her lips on my shoulder suggested she'd be happy to skip them and leave with me. Positive. I need some Amanda time. No distractions. I pulled away and started untying Erica. Say your goodbyes, Amanda. We're done? Erica asked sadly after I freed her. She rolled over and spread her legs, smiling playfully. The night is young, she said. I pulled her legs together, leaned over, and kissed her. I'm sorry, beautiful girl. I've got to take care of some things. Can we continue another time? I'll call you tomorrow. She rubbed her wrists and smiled, giving me a hug. I understand. You take care of what you need to. I'll be here. I explained to Troy, who was with Kayla and Beth. He stood and hugged me like friends do, nothing more. Amazing night, Jack. Thanks. Kayla was next to him, her outfit loose and untied. I pulled her close for a kiss, giving her a gentle squeeze. Thanks, Kajira. I'd free you, but you belong with your true master. He'll look after you. She hugged her husband tightly. Thank you, master, for everything. I wanted to say goodnight to Beth, but she had left the room. I found her in the hallway, dressed again. It was sad to see her clothed, even partially. We're leaving, Beth. Thanks for letting me be your first. She hugged me tightly. Dream come true. You were perfect, master. I kissed her lightly. I'm not your master anymore. You're free. She shook her head. I am not. I am yours, master. She took my hand and placed a piece of paper in it. My number and my email. Call me, master, whenever you need me. She gave me another hug. Don't make me wait too long, please, she whispered. I held her close. How could I resist? You'll hear from me soon. She squeezed me tight. You can stop that. I know I'm not beautiful, but thank you. Why did she think that? Not beautiful? That's silly. You are amazing. She shook her head. No, I'm not. I know it. I've never even dated. I gently pulled her away and reached for her zipper. While she watched, I unzipped her dress, revealing her body. I placed my hands on her back and pulled her against me. You are, and I won't let you say otherwise. Being with you was wonderful. I saw tears in her eyes and gently wiped them away. Stop, you're breaking my heart, I told her. You really think I'm pretty? She asked, crying. No, I know you're beautiful. Even now, holding you makes me happy. Why do you think that is? She shook her head. I don't know, I don't understand it. I kissed her deeply. Afterward, she looked up at me with her big brown eyes. I'd take you upstairs, but I really need to go home. I promise I'll call you soon. I knelt down in front of her and pulled her dress closed, starting the zipper. I zipped it up halfway, covering her. Can't leave you like that. You'd never make it out of here. She dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around my legs. Thank you, master. I'm glad I made you happy. I stroked her hair. Thank you, Kajira. Then I found Amanda waiting for me in the study with Terry kneeling quietly nearby. Said your goodbyes? I asked Amanda. She nodded. Ready to go? She looked at Terry. Aren't you going to say goodbye to Terry? She sounded sad. Do you want me to? I asked, wrapping an arm around her. She shook her head. I don't think she'll be a distraction, I told her. Like you said, we're better with her. She hugged me. Thank you, she whispered. I held out my hand for Terry and she jumped forward, hugging me tightly. I thought you were going to leave me, she said, and I could see she'd been crying. Not in this lifetime. That collar doesn't come off until Sunday, Kajira, and we have a lot to talk about. She smiled. I hope it won't all be talking. I can promise that. I'm only human. We slipped out without anyone noticing. Incredible party. But I had a feeling the rest of my life would be even better.